not equipped to deal with what's happening in the world. So the way we get through it is through connection. Hi, I'm David Choe, and you're listening to the Rich Roll Podcast.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. My guest today is a guy who has fascinated me for years. His name is David Choe. He's a street artist. He's a fine artist, a muralist. He's also a writer, a podcaster, a television host, and a recovering sex and gambling addict. And although highly flawed, like all of us are, just a refreshingly honest, open, vulnerable, sensitive, caring, and really beautiful human. The inspiration for reaching out to David in this moment is his latest creation. It's called Choe Show on FX. It's this limited series that I'm absolutely obsessed with. It's unlike anything you've previously seen on television. Just this explosion of creativity and honesty and vulnerability, all wrapped in a sort of talk show format, as unique as the man himself. If you're already familiar with David, perhaps you caught him on Howard Stern or Joe Rogan or Dave Chang's podcast, all absolutely wild conversations worth checking out, by the way. David is nothing if not very entertaining, but today's conversation, I think, is qualitatively different. In so many ways, a version of David as perhaps you have never before seen him, and really very focused on things like mental health, childhood trauma, addiction, sobriety, and more broadly, this journey he's been on towards self-acceptance and self-love. I adore this conversation. It's quite unlike any I have had previously on mic. And mostly, I hope you find it helpful, especially if you're one of those people who is suffering right now. And I think that's just about all I want to say about what's to come. So please click that subscribe button and enjoy what I think is a very meaningful and beautifully heart-centered conversation with the singular David Choe. It's really nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
I've been looking forward to this for a while. And as somebody who's kind of followed your trajectory, your arc for a while, just delighted that you would agree to come here. I have to say I was really surprised when you DM'd me because I was saying stuff about, the show and you on the podcast. And when you reached out, I was like thrilled. So I'm excited to talk to you. And, typically with these things, like I do a ton of research and I come like loaded to bear with all these questions and in thinking about like how to approach this with you. Like I honestly I was like, I can go down some crazy rabbit hole and learn everything I can possibly learn about what you've shared publicly. But, I really just want to be present with you. Like, I want to do a little bit of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And I guess I'm really interested in like this growth trajectory that you've been on. I think it's really fascinating. It's impressive. I think there's so much wisdom to be mined that could be helpful to other people. Because it's been a fucking journey, man, that you've been on.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should start with full disclosure. I don't have social media, so the person who DM'd you was my assistant.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough, man. I appreciate the honesty.
Well, I am aware that I have a social media presence, but it's not me like that.
Yeah. Is that for self-preservation?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It has added, I can't sit here and say it's added nothing to my life because I use it as a promotional tool and get my message out. But negative feedback and especially positive feedback doesn't help me, So I have a child blocked phone. So I don't have access to those things. So if I want to write something or reach out to someone, I send it to my assistant and he reaches out. And I appreciate, in my days where I did do podcasts, I would do the same. I would do as much homework and be as prepared as possible. And I just, there's I don't know if you can tell, but like I'm very intimidated to be here because
you shouldn't be, dude. You shouldn't be.
I am, and I'll tell you why.
But I will say, you seem really like chill and grounded, like not.
I meditated in the IHOP parking lot.
The maniacal, like high energy, like high wire act dude that like we're kind of accustomed to.
I meditated in the IHOP parking lot before I came here, and for about 30 minutes. And when I do these things, I don't do them very often anymore.
Yeah.
I never know how deep I'm going to go, so my brain marks where all the fast food places are. So I know getting off the freeway, I saw the Burger King, the McDonald's, the Jack in the Box, the IHOP, and I go, I don't know what's going to happen with Rich today, but depending on what happens, my brain has already planned how I'm going to get high at the end of this, which is, the fries at McDonald's, 2 tacos from Jack in the Box. And part of what, I'm not an athlete, and as I get older, I try to stay in shape and, doing a very poor job of it. And when I meet someone who's like a marathon runner, and in your case, like, I don't even know what you call the things you do, like ultra, mega, I quit. Anytime I have a trainer and they push me too hard and I start to feel the burn or I feel something, I go, I don't feel good right now. Like my body doesn't like this. I feel like I'm going to puke right now. And then I just stop. Quit. So when I find someone or meet someone who's capable of running hundreds of miles and all these things, there's 2 things. One side of it is inspirational. Wow, the human body. And then the other side is, wow, if this guy's capable of this, I mean, he's capable of like he's probably a psychopath.
But so much of that, like I get uncomfortable hearing that because so much of it is projection. And I get this a lot when I go out in the world, and perhaps you can relate to your version of it, which is, oh, did you just run 20 miles or you could have run here from your home? And like in my mind, I think if they only knew like the reality of it or how I think of myself, because the truth is right now, I'm not doing that. Like I'm doing podcasts and I'm traveling and I'm raising teenagers and I got a lot of obligations and now I got this studio and I have people that work for me. So there's this, past that I have that's somewhat current of being an athlete, and that's true. I don't dismiss that. I honor that, and I'm grateful when people recognize that, but at the same time, that's not the reality of how I'm living right now. And so it lands kind of undeserved, and the fact that it would make you uncomfortable is preposterous. And so I would say to you in the same way, like, oh my God, this incredible artist is coming here, and he's like so full of life and creativity, and he's such an incredible storyteller, and I'm nervous, like, what am I going to say to this guy that, like how am I going to help make this interesting for other people? So a lot of that is just being human. And I think it's also, one thing that we share is just a history with addiction. I've been in recovery for a long time, and I like struggle with just emotional sobriety every single day, and like trying to put a lid on my character defects and the negative kind of loops that play out in my head of unworthiness and undeservedness and all of that kind of stuff that is maddening.
I guess when I hear you say that, my version of that would be, I remember I went to an art school in Oakland. They changed the name, but it used to be called California College of Arts and Crafts. And I was so nervous the first day, and I was like, this is where all the people that can really draw, and my background was illustration and comics. So, I'd tweak out and just draw and draw. So I'm like, I was known as the kid that can draw in my class. So I'm like, this is where that kid from every school is coming here. So it's the test of the best. And I remember I had this illustration teacher, Vince Perez, and it was the first day of class, and we got our first assignment. So I didn't sleep for that whole week, and when I joined, when I presented my assignment, 2 kids, and I remember the names, I won't say it, quit the class because they were like, if there's people doing stuff like this, that I'll never live up to this, and they quit, and that gave me at that time so much joy. I was like, and then later in life, the way all my addictions manifested, with the one main addiction where you can hide in plain sight and no one will say anything. In fact, they'll pat you on the back and say, good job, is workaholism. So about 7 years ago, when I was, I started to do stand-up, I was having art shows, selling paintings for, millions of dollars, professional gambling. I had my own podcast. I started doing the news for Vice, and, we won an Emmy that year that I joined. I was sleeping with multiple women in a day. I had the highest score on Angry Birds at the time. So it was just like, I had to, and I remember joining my first like self-help group thing. And, most of the guys are older than me and they're titans of industry. And it was just, I walked in with a less than attitude. And when I heard like, oh, I started this company, I did this, I had to show you like, oh, you're a workaholic. Let me, like, I don't sleep. I don't do drugs. I don't do this. And look at all these things, like whatever you did, I did 1,000 times more. So you're less than me. I'm more than you. And today I don't, that was such a reactive way to live life. It's like, you do this, then I do this, and it's like a game. It's like a war.
It's all competition. I mean, I've heard you talk about how you, from an early age, like approached your art from a competitive place. Like, I don't do sports. This is my sport. How can I outwork everybody? And behind all of that, of course, is this like compulsion or drive to be seen, to be recognized, that derives out of, the sense of abandonment from when you were younger, and all the kind of like trauma that you experienced. And it is something that society, our society smiles upon. And with that, like, comes the creation of the ego, right? Which is the beast.
Right.
As society's approving of you and you become more and more successful, and your self-will gets attached to that. Like, I did this, I'm the one behind this. It becomes like something that becomes really unmanageable. And it's not until it's too late that you even are like in a place where you can reckon with it.
Yeah, I tell myself all these stories. There's a story like that I tell myself in my head of like who I am, and then there's stories I tell on podcasts or write in books, and then like that's a narrative that I've been telling myself for a long time. And is it true, or is that just how is that my edit?
Right, you've told it so many times, and it's going to get a reaction.
Right.
And your memory is really of the telling of the story and not of what actually happened.
And my memory is horrible. my memory is very inaccurate, and it's horrible. And I just remember, I remember being in so much pain. Like it's both, right? I tend to be very binary, and life's awesome or life's the worst, but it was both. I remember having a very happy childhood at the same time, being in like just a lot of anxiety and pain all the time. And I got tired of people telling me I was such a good artist, like sometime in high school, like when I was 13, 14, 15, around that age. And I was, growing up in Los Angeles, I was introduced to graffiti, but, I didn't know this at the time, but graffiti has a lot of rules. There's a lot of structure. There's like, this neighborhood you can't paint in, and these kind of letters, and and I'm like, I don't want to be a vandal, so I could follow more rules,
Right. Yeah, it's ironic.
The band Soundgarden? So in the trifecta of grunge, right there, it's usually Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and then Soundgarden's third. And so I used to listen to more, I'd probably say Nirvana, but then there's this song, Slaves and Bulldozers, which is like a really long, it's like 7 or 9 minute song. And it's Chris Cornell sings in like every single octave in that song. He's like the lowest.
Yeah.
And I remember being at my house and playing it as loud as possible. I had my headphones, and I had it on I think I had it on cassette or CD, and I would just listen to it over and over. And I would start getting myself hyped up for going out to do graffiti. And I wasn't part of a gang or a crew or anything. It was just me and some spray paint that I stole. And I would just listen to that song, and there's a lyric in the song where he goes, "Now I know why you've been shaking," and I didn't know, I was 15, I didn't know what that meant, but I love that line, and I would sing it back with him, and then I would start punching myself in the face, soft at first, and then like I was so like I said, my background is drawing, like, drawings in a sketchbook, like, it's like this. Like, I don't, it's my world. I draw in my sketchbook and then I close it. The idea of going outside and painting something big that could be judged, that people would see me, it gave me a lot of anxiety. So this is the way I would get myself hyped up. And then I would start, like, what if another gang sees me, drawing over their stuff, or what if the police chase me, or what if, like, there's all these what ifs. So I would be like, there's nothing you can do to me that I can't do to myself. I'll hurt myself first. I'll get myself, So I'd get myself hyped up. I'd already, like, get some adrenaline going just from, like, hitting myself, and then I would go out, and then I'd get out there, and I had no idea on how to paint using a spray can. Like, it's one thing to use a brush and a pencil, and so I'd get out there, and I'd freeze. I'd be like, I don't know what to do, and then I just started writing my name, David Choe, like, and it wasn't a tag, it wasn't like my alter ego, and I would just start writing it, and I would like, right next to it, I'd draw like a cute whale, and it was almost like prompting the police, like, come get me, but I also knew,
like, on some unconscious level, like a cry for help, even at that early age, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that cry just gets louder and louder and louder as your life gets bigger.
It got very loud.
Yeah.
It got very loud. And, and I was thinking about that recently with, watching these people in Afghanistan, like, run onto the tarmac and jump on the airplanes while they're taking off and, like, falling to their death. And one of my character defects I've developed over my entire life is I have to be first in line. I know how to cut. I know how to lie, steal, manipulate. I know how to do anything that I need to do so that I don't have to wait in line. Like, if we're at Magic Mountain, Disneyland, at the airport, I know what to say, I know every trick in the book. And, like, when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my wife, they say, why you got to do that, man? Like, what, do you got to get somewhere? Are you in a hurry? Like, and it's, I grew up with the stories of my family escaping from Korea, right? Like, you're waiting in line to get on the boat to get away from the Japanese. And so I wasn't there. That never happened to me. That's a story from my grandparents, from my aunts, my uncles, telling me these, like, horrendous stories. And so I grow up with this imagined thing that may or may not happen one day, right? Like, it's like, one day there's going to be a tank that turns the corner. Right. And you better be the first on that boat. And when you get there to that line, you better claw, kick, scream. You better do anything. Because
your life depends on it. It's almost like there's an epigenetic thing. Like, that's imprinted on your DNA and it gets passed down. So even though you didn't suffer that trauma, it's like part of who you are. Something gets triggered in you.
Exactly.
Whenever you're in a line. But I think even on top of that, there's that, like, varnish or, like, veneer of the addict and the addict's entitlement. Like, don't you know who I think I am? Like, I deserve to be at the front of the line. Is that part of that piece also?
I feel so good right now talking to you, like, listening to you talk, because it's like, something you said at the beginning of, like, if I'm going on Howard Stern, or, like, I always feel like I have to over-explain stuff, or maybe talk over, like, like, I'm in the world of recovery, which is not sexy, and I don't, for the most part, like talking about it, because I don't ever want to explain to someone what a gambling addict is. Oh, that's a real addiction? Like, so I kind of overcompensate and go into, like, storytelling, or, like, like a cartoon character projection of what I think I am to people, and like I feel good right now. Like I'm like
you don't
talking
have to
to
do
you,
that.
and you're like,
Well,
that's
it's that thing that you learn, like people that are really funny who are addicts, like it becomes a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism. They can hide behind the joke. You know that you're an unbelievable storyteller, so you can always pull out that card when you need to and get the approval. Or, if you're Steve-O, you can do some crazy stunt, and get the attention that you need. But it's really ultimately a deflection, because you're protecting that like inner child that is wounded or afraid of speaking their truth.
Yeah, and since you bring up Steve-O, I had dinner with him about 2 weeks ago, and he was on my show,
Right.
and I know him casually. I've met with him like.
He's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know him too well. So having dinner without a camera on, it was nice to get to know him. And I don't think he would mind me saying this, but even though he's not a dad, he's got a lot of dad. He's like a dad. Like sorry, I'm like burping. He's very concerned about like climate change and like the stimulus package, and he's just like concerned. And I'm sitting there going, oh, like he's making all these good points, and I'm like, wait, what do you care? Like you jump in a Shark Tank, like any day, like every single stunt you do, you could die, and you're caring about like what the future of the world, and he said, hey, I don't think I was ever an adrenaline junkie, he's like, the way his addictions manifested itself, and he would tell you this is he's an attention whore, right? He's like, all of it is so, and I go, have you ever, would you ever do a stunt or something and not broadcast it for TV, or, like, would you do it just for yourself, just to be like, I would? And I had actually had this conversation with Rainn Wilson also. It's like, everything I've ever done that's, performative, it is a performance. It's for someone else. If it's almost like if it's not filmed, then it's like it never happened.
Right.
And that's something that I really struggled with, because my final art show was in Beverly Hills on Rodeo in 2009. And I was so checked out at that time, and it was my gallerist, Steve Lazaridis, is, he was the same guy that represented Banksy, and he's just like, he's from London. He's like, where do you want to do your next show, Dave? And I was like, it has to be in LA. It has to be on the most expensive, like right in Rodeo Drive, and lights, camera, action. I want every celebrity there. And it was just all like, I had to show, everyone, like I was enough, and I was not I wasn't even enough. I was better than you,
Yeah.
And
how'd that work out?
I just sat there, and I they're telling me how much you sold out your show and the whole thing, and by that point, my name was starting to be in conversations with like Damien Hirst and Murakami and all these, and I got to meet some of these people, and I was like, they're nice guys, whatever, but I'm like, I don't ever want to be these people. I don't want to, like, usually when you get to that stage, then you have a factory, and then you have other people painting your stuff for, and then you can sell stuff, and it's just
right.
It's never enough. It's just more and more and more. And I sat there, and I just kind of said to myself, I don't want to sell my art anymore. Like I don't, and it goes against everything of how I was raised and like survival and getting to the front of the line. I just said, it's enough. I've literally made enough money in my life. I can, I don't ever have to work again, which is, every time I've said that out loud is it's abstract. It's abstract to say, I'll go one step further. I never have to move again. I never have to move again. Like, I can hire someone to just push me around, like the total addict side of me that wants to like have zero responsibilities and accountability. I can literally buy a humongous house and have just someone wheel me around, and just all the food and video games and, you know, all my human desires and needs can just come right to my door, and I don't have to do anything again. And if I start thinking about that, it messes me up, because that's not the life I want,
right.
you know?
Right. But you had to, you know, have an experiential adventure with all of that to arrive at that place. Like, you had to dip your toe into every conceivable indulgence.
But that's the thing, is as a human, as a man, like, you know, I had people in my life that knew better, and they were like, they told me, they're like, the writing's on the wall, like, this doesn't end well for you. And yet I had to be like, but let me see for myself. And the ego goes, well, it didn't work out for you.
Right.
And even though you're smarter, you know, more powerful, more better looking, more everything than me, like, that's how it worked out for you. For me, it'll be different. And to have more and more and more people tell me, I still had to see for myself. And I'm not that way today. If someone's like, hey, that's not a good idea, I go, okay, I'm over it. So I pulled the plug on the commerce side of my art business, because I went back to, there's so much when you tell someone, or when I tell myself I want to be an artist, right? It's not like I just sit down and I start painting. It's, what is this for? Is this for a gallery? Is this for, you know, a children's storybook? Is this, how much am I going to sell it for? Like, you know, there's so much stuff that comes with it. And when I paint with kids, I do a lot of murals with like at-risk youth and stuff. There's none of that, right? As adults, we need a lot of explanation. We need a lot of hand-holding. We need a lot of, what is this for? And, you know, there's so many questions. And then, like, with kids, when I say I teach them, I just put the tools out.
You're giving them permission.
Yeah, I just put the tools out, and then I don't even have to.
Expression in its purest form. So stepping outside of the commerce piece, you know, provides that opportunity for you to reframe your relationship with your art, where it can be just about pure creative expression and you being motivated only by this sense of having something you want to say and saying it for no other reason.
Right, which is hard.
Which is the best. That's if you remove all those other motivations, isn't that going to produce the best art anyway, or the purest art?
But you said the word permission, which I think is huge, because there was an art barn at the first rehab I ever went to. And for me, they're like, this is your life. So I was actually banned from the art barn.
Right.
They're like,
You're the only guy who can't do that.
They're like, this is your escape. So you're not, like, you got to go do something else. But I remember peeking my head in there, and, you know, it was a really expensive rehab. So everyone in there is like a multimillionaire or billionaire. And there was a guy in there who's, you know, you could argue is one of the most powerful people on the planet. And he was asking permission if he could use, like, the glitter. You know, they were all using normal paint, but then there was like a glitter section. And he's like, can I use the glitter? And I was like, motherfucker, you can buy this place. You can buy this place. You can build your own. Like, and I go, that guy had to ask permission. And then I just go back, you know, because for kids, like young kids, they just do life, right? They just live life. And I think about how many things in my life. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Is it, can I, you know,
good.
like, there's so much, oh, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to, you know, and for me, it's because, you know, I was talking to Paco, the filmmaker, who did the Choe Show with me. He literally flew in from the Philippines yesterday. He's crashed out at my house right now. And I talked to him at dinner last night about Pogs. And they're those, like, little cardboard, you know, things that you know, I never played it, but I guess you play it and then you win someone else's Pogs. So his father he worked at Pepsi in the Philippines, and Paco was playing with Coca-Cola Pogs, and he was, you know, it was a skill that he had to win other kids' Pogs. And at the end of the day, he had a stack, you know, and he was so proud of this thing that he had done. And his dad comes home and he sees the Coca-Cola logo, And then he said like a movie had just started raining in Manila, and it started turning into a typhoon. And his dad took all his pogs, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing? Like those are mine."
Yeah.
And he threw them into the typhoon. And this is something that happened at his, I don't know how old he was, 7, 8. And so, you know, and my version of that is, you know, in Koreatown, my dad's friend, you know, this is in the 80s, early 80s, when Koreatown was much smaller. His friend had opened a seafood restaurant. And like the way things worked with Korean immigrants is, without getting too into it, it's like they would like loan each other money to start businesses. It was like support, like you start your business, then we come support you. And so I remember my dad in the car there going like, "Let me order." Because we didn't eat out that often because we didn't have that much money. And I know he was going to get like the friends and family discount, but he was like, "Let me order," because seafood can be expensive, you know? And I remember going, okay, cool. And we went there, and I think it was my first time like at a real restaurant, and I must have been 6 or 7, not like McDonald's or something. And I remember his friend, you know, he was charming, and he came with his thing, and he's like, "And you little man, what do you want?" You know? And there was a lobster tank, and he's like, "The lobster's fresh today," you know, like, and I never had an adult asking me what I want, you know? So I'm like, I'll have that. And I could just feel my dad glaring down at me, you know, just like, and so then he took everyone's order, and then as soon as he left, my dad's like, "Do you know how much a fresh lobster costs?" You know? And then, you know, my brothers jumped in, you know? They're like, "Stupid, David, like, Dad said he's gonna order. Now we, you know." So I'm like, "You want me to get him? Like, should we change the?" He's like, you know, "No, then we're gonna sound like we're poor," and you know, so this shame. I'm telling you a story about a lobster meal, you know? So then the lobster comes. I can't even enjoy it, right? "Does it taste good?" You know, I'm like, guys, I don't want it now. Like, you guys have been yelling at me. He's like, "No, we're going to sit here till you finish eating that." And so I'm like crying, eating this lobster tail. You know, cut to 20 years later, like I'm gambling millions of dollars in Las Vegas, having lobsters sent up to the room. I have prostitutes in the room, and I don't even eat the lobsters. You know, I just check into every penthouse suite in Vegas. First thing I do when I check in is 2 lobsters, and they're like, "Oh, are you gonna eat it now, or you want us?" And I go, "Just send them up to the room."
Right.
So there's rotting lobsters in every penthouse in Vegas, and I don't even eat it. It's just like a fuck you to my dad.
Right.
You know, like, and I didn't even put that together till I was in therapy. And part of the problem is, what did I just tell you about? Pogs and lobster. And I get into treatment, and there's people there that have been, you know, seen their family murdered in front of them. They've, you know, so then I make it a competition. This guy just told me his family was murdered, like in front of him in Cambodia, and now he's here, and I'm gonna bring up a story about ordering too much lobster at dinner. So I don't speak up for myself. So I suppress it, I push it down. I go, "Dude, big deal." I say big deal, but then it manifests in like these, it comes out sideways in all these strange ways. And
we all have our version
do I
of
have
that.
permission?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Do I have permission to forgive myself? Do I have permission to forgive my dad? Do I have permission to eat lobster now without all this guilt and shame? Do I have, and the answer in most cases of the people that I've been talking to is no. So it comes out in workaholism. It comes out in like basically saying, I am not allowed to ask for permission for what my needs are, because I'll be rejected. I'll get yelled at. And so it's like living with this ghost of, and you know, if you met my dad today, he's like the sweetest guy. So, you know, in the same way, I go, you know, just, he was an immigrant and he had 3 kids and he didn't have any money. So I make the excuse for him, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like,
But the trauma is what it is, and it doesn't matter the motivations behind your parents. All our parents on some level were doing the best that they could with the deck that they were dealt. It's that Gabor Mate thing of emotional trauma, childhood trauma, like laying the foundation for these errant behaviors and the addictions that follow. We can always trace it back to something that, in most cases, for a lot of people, it's like their parents, I'm sure your dad doesn't even remember that. Right? Oh, yeah. It's like it was a meaningless thing in the moment, and yet it gets locked in your psyche and becomes this, latent, like pernicious seed that germinates over time and manifests in all kinds of craziness later on.
It's like,
and we all have some version of that, and that guilt and shame that we feel because our pain isn't as grandiose as somebody else's. Our pain is our pain, man. It's like there's no measuring stick to compare that.
The way it was explained to me is everyone's pain is maximum to them. So when I'm being shamed for ordering, incorrectly, I'm not thinking, oh, there's a kid down the street getting beat up by his dad. I'm just thinking in that moment, this is happening to me. And it gets locked in forever.
Yeah. We'll be back in a sec, but first, if you dig this podcast, and I hope you dig this podcast, then I think you'll really enjoy my latest book, Voicing Change, featuring excerpts from, poignant essays by, and glorious photography of some 50 of my favorite guests over the last 8+ years of doing this thing, this podcast. It's a gorgeous, artful compendium of the show and copious wisdom shared therein, all wrapped in a hardcover coffee table form that provides a great taste of what we do here at the RRP and serves as a beautiful keepsake or gift for the ardent fan. The book is only and exclusively available on our website. Signed copies are available, and we are shipping globally direct to any coffee table on planet Earth. So to learn more and snag your copy today, visit richroll.com/VC. That's richroll.com/VC. All right, let's get back into it.
I'm wondering, I don't know too much of your stories that, once again, I don't want to, the joke with running, anyone who's a runner is like, hey, so what are you running from?
Yeah.
So
sure, of course. I mean, it's all about your relationship to it. Like in many ways, I can look at my, career as an athlete and make a checklist of all the ways in which it's improved my life. Mm-hmm. But I think I would be dishonest if I didn't say that there's some addictive compulsion that attracted me to pushing myself in that way. It's like this place that you can go where you'll be celebrated for going further, longer, harder than anyone else, and nobody's going to bat an eye. So there is like an addict piece with that I'm sure there's ramifications for my involvement in that. Overall, I think it was a good thing, and I'd put enough work into myself at that point where I could like keep it from getting too out of control. But if you go to any ultra marathon, like, probably 70% of the people there are in recovery and covered with tattoos. It's like, it's like those little lights that attract the bugs, It's one of those kinds of things.
So who was it for you? Was it mostly mom or dad or?
I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, it was a household of high expectations being set that I could never quite meet. And my relationship with my parents is good now, like especially with my dad. We've gone through a lot. So it's not about blaming them or them being bad people.
Oh, no, I don't think it's about that. It's just, if I try to have this conversation with my parents, they'll instantly go to that. They'll be like, oh, like, why are you trying to make me look? And I go, it's not about that. Because I love my parents and I think they're great people. It's just, I got really, really defensive when I was in treatment because my dad kicked the shit out of me one time. So in my mind, I deleted that memory. And I said, dude, there's people out there that have like the most, my dad sings me songs to sleep. He takes me on trip. He's great. And one day he had a bad day. I don't know what happened at work. But one day he did that. And so of course the treatment team focuses on that. I'm like, why are you guys trying to turn me against my dad? Like, why are you trying to get me to, and they're like, well, that did something. That one day did something to you. And it's not about blaming them, or it's just addressing it, because this is this wound that's open. Let's just address it. And then we can move on from it. We don't have to just sit there and and blame this thing forever, you know? And you said this thing right now, if you're open to, you know, I heard you describing, you know, all the sides of the emotions that come with ultra marathon running, and it's bringing something up in me when I was doing podcasting. So what part of this podcast is not healthy for your recovery?
I mean, there's a workaholism piece to it. You know, it's a lot more work, as you know, somebody who's done it than I think people realize. There's a competitive piece to it. Like I want it to be as good as it can be. I want these experiences to be as helpful to other people as I can possibly craft them. And it's that tension between self-will. Like I know if I put a lot into it, it can be better. And also what I've learned from recovery, which is I have to allow it what it wants to be. Like I have to surrender to it. And it's actually better the looser that I hold it. And I'm always waging this war with myself over that. But there's certainly a workaholism piece. Can I do more? Who else can I get? Why is that person getting that person? And why can't I do that? Or why, you know, like I buy into a lot of that. Like that's a lot of my character defects. And I can hide behind that. And while the podcast is successful, I get applauded for it in the way that, you know, in a minimal way, you know, in comparison to kind of like what happened with you and just being celebrated. I mean, I remember when you know, way back when you were doing that podcast, DVD essay, I mean, it was insane, dude. I would tap into it occasionally and just be like, this guy's so fucking out of his mind. You know, like I just can't, I was like, I can't, I'd hear you on Rogan and I would check out the podcast and I was like, this guy is on a crash course with disaster. I don't know what the timeline is here, but
I remember doing Howard Stern, and then after the interview, him taking me off to the side, and he's like, "You're wild, man. Like this doesn't, you know, like you better tuck it back a little." Like, and to have my hero Howard Stern say I'm out of control was like the greatest compliment he could ever gave me. And I remember that time, and everything you just said resonated with me. That's why I'm curious is, you know, you could call it my delusion or my aspirations at that time was, I'm going to be bigger than Howard. I'm going to be bigger than Joe Rogan. And my workaholism was at its all-time high. I was like, okay, I'm gonna trick Sacha Baron Cohen out to being my show because he wants to buy an art. You know, like he was looking at paintings, but then I said, go in that door over there. And like we were recording live, like
a reverse punk.
Yeah, like guests I couldn't get, I would try to use my art. Like every day I was sitting there, and my mistake was, I don't know if it's a mistake, everything I guess happened the way it needed to, but when I paint, I can do anything I want. It's not literal, right? Like I can paint an abstract painting, a fantasy painting, you know, some sci-fi, anything. You don't have to take it literally. I just paint, and I have that freedom as an artist to just paint whatever. And I brought all that energy into my podcast. I was like, I want to use words like pigments, like paint. I can, you know, I'll tell a story, but I'll exaggerate this part, I'll edit out this part, and this great thing that I heard from this other guest, I'll make it like it was my story. And every day it was how can I, you know, and a bit of like just reactive, like, you know, Asians are supposed to be like meek, and you know, your podcast should be about math or something like that. And so I there was a lot of, I need to show that Asians can also be crazy, and not just crazy, but the craziest. And so just sitting there and going, how inappropriate can I make this podcast? How insane can I make it? And then and then, you know, once in a while, you know, teaching some of the positive things that I learned in life, and getting, you know, hundreds and then at some point thousands of people saying, I look forward to your podcast. You know, I'm sure you get this. You're inspirational. You did it. You turned your life around. You got all these things, and getting almost like this kind of messiah guru complex of like, I'm helping people. This podcast is helping people at the cost of myself, some martyr shit, but it's okay. I can take it. I can take this. A lot of people can't take it. I'll hurt myself so that other people can be entertained, so other people can learn from my mistakes, and I'll sacrifice myself at this altar. And in the same way that I walked away from painting, I just said, this isn't, I'm going to die doing this. Yeah. Like I'm literally going to die doing this. So I stopped podcasting. And so
it was pretty abrupt too. Like you just stopped uploading.
Yeah, I was just, I just sat in a room one day, and the podcasts were so, I just, you know, the ones that I had played for my friends in the same way, like I like it when it hurts, right? Like I imagine, like, as someone who's not an ultra marathon runner, when the pain starts, it's like, okay, like something gets activated.
Now we're on to something.
Now we're on.
Yeah.
Now it's on. Like, you know, people were starting to have, you know, really threatening hate mail towards me. People writing articles. People trying to cancel me. And now it was It was like, oh, you thought that was bad. So then I went, and I, you know, I still have hundreds, if not thousands, of podcasts. I lost track, and I would play them for my closest friends, and they're like, you can never upload this.
Yeah.
You literally can never. No one can ever hear this. And I go, but I'm not doing anything. I'm literally talking, using words. And they're like, you're saying stuff that is like so bizarre and so offensive and I go, but like, isn't that what art is supposed to, it's supposed to make you uncomfortable and push? And they're like, Dave, we fucking love you, man. Like, don't do that.
There's a difference between being a provocateur and performing like a public self-immolation. Like, right. It was like this, on one level, like your whole life becomes a performance art. Like everything that you're doing is a form of media that is an expression of your interior life. But unmistakable in that was this sense of you. I mean, a cry for help is like the wrong term. Like it was more severe than that. Like you were, you know,
I wanted to die. I wanted to die.
It was clear to anybody who had any kind of like, you know, therapeutic background that like you were in a lot of pain, and you didn't know how to quite express that, and you were very far away from being in a place where you could actually raise your hand and ask for help. And so what you were doing was exploding your life in real time.
And I carried all the cliche. This is my problem with like, you know, I didn't watch the latest Anthony Bourdain documentary, even though I know I'm in it, because I do want to celebrate all the positive, wonderful things he did in his life. But I also know in our society, the cliche story is you kill yourself, you're going to be on murals, you're going to be memorial, you're going to be you're going to become a demigod. People are going to worship you, and I don't like that. And at that time, I didn't have, you know, I had very close friends that were like, there's this thing called therapy. There's things called medication. There's things you can do. Like, you don't have to suffer like this. But my handbook, which I was playing from, was you have to be effed up to be an artist. The best for legacy, for transcendent. If you want to be known, you have to be the most messed up. No great art. I mean, maybe great art, but that kind of transcendent art that really touches people for generations, you have to sell your soul to the devil. Like you have to, and
pain is the vehicle for greatness.
And I totally bought in. Yeah. I was like, there's no one I know that's like well-adjusted, that has like a wonderful life, that is doing anything that's like, and that's just this. And today I know there is. It's just I didn't believe it at the time. So I believe that, and anything that would get anything like to go to therapy or to start taking pills or to start talking about my pain would get in the way of the art. And the art is the most important. And at that time, I considered my podcast art, my pain, everything I did, I was like, that's my art. And it needs to be pure, and it can't be edited. It can never be edited. If I mess up in a painting, you have to see my mess up. If I say something that should be edited, like everything has to be pure. I have to show you, because everything in the society is lies and manipulation and the best version of things, and I want to show you the ugliness, and I wanted, you know, I was too cowardly to actually kill myself, but I wanted to get into some kind of situation where, you know, someone would murder me or something would happen where I would die. I had a angina attack in a casino when I was 35. So I have that heart disease. And that was the best, because when I collapsed, I felt so much joy. I felt so much joy in the same way in those Soundgarden days when I was doing graffiti and like I had nothing. I was just a punk kid writing my name, David Choe, on a wall, and all these people were like, dude, you painted in that gang territory. They're going to come after you. The police are calling your house because you wrote your name. That was the happiest I was, because I was like, it's going to end soon. My pain is going to end soon.
Right, like relief from this self-created prison where self-care is at odds with what you're trying to express, which is greatness through your art, right? It is an impossibility to be a great artist and to be well, right? And the pain of walking around being like, I'm not entitled to actually take care of myself because that will threaten the very thing that I care about the most. And I think one of the most kind of interesting and impressive things about this growth trajectory that you've been on is this chapter of that is perhaps the most courageous. Like, can you be a great artist as a happy, well-adjusted, grateful, grounded human being?
Well,
is that not like the ultimate challenge for an artist who's convinced that the expression is only a function of how much pain you're in?
Well, let me ask you this. In your adult working life, have you ever taken a year off?
No.
I mean, not to get into your finances, have you made enough where you could take a year off?
No.
6 months?
Maybe. Yeah.
So
I got a bunch of kids.
Let's go with 6 months. So when that was recommended to me, it was the same thing as me asking Steve-O to do a stunt and not film it, or Rain to do a performance and not have anyone see it. It was like, that you're taking away my identity. My identity is work. Yeah. Everything is for work, for
approval, relevance. Right. What happens if I stop doing the podcast?
I mean a lot
I disappear
of things,
and then I don't mean anything anymore.
Exactly.
And who am I actually?
And so someone even called me out on the thing you just said. They were like, for someone who's rebelled against everything their whole life, you're pretty closed-minded, and you're pretty like cowardly about this creating art from a positive place. Because you have all these examples to support your argument of how it, look at this guy, and look at how messed up Picasso is, and look at how, and so you have so many examples to support the messed up artist, thing, but why can't you be the first, right? If you can't think of any examples of someone who's well-adjusted, has a loving life, and also an amazing artist, why don't you be the first? Why don't you try it?
And isn't that not the most punk rock thing ever?
But it doesn't feel like it because there's so little examples of that. So first thing was, you need to take a year off. And I was at a place with a lot of people, and I was like, how come you're not asking that guy? He's like, because he's not rich.
Yeah.
He's like, you can, if everyone here can afford it, I would tell everyone here to do it. So this guy says, you're so close to death, and you may or may not know it, but because you can financially afford it, I'm asking you to take 1 year off because your brain is on fire. Like, you can't sit, like,
right.
It's, TV show, the movies, work on this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to put this, like, and you have so many people calling you, like, a genius. Oh, this guy did this, and he combined this, and you're getting all this praise. People are offering you TV shows, and that couldn't have been that was the most offensive thing you could say to me, is to take a year off. I told the guy, go fuck yourself. He's like, and then he started crying, and I hadn't experienced that kind of level of vulnerability before, like with a man. Like I was ready to mix it up. He tells me this, I go back, and we were going to argue, and he goes, hey, just from meeting you and how I feel of how you're coming off right now, and because you can financially afford it, I'm going to ask you to take a year off. And I said, go fuck yourself. And then he started crying, and
Who is this guy? Therapist?
His name is Patrick Carnes, and he is known as like the godfather of sex addiction, and just for my background, I have no chemical addictions, and every
Yeah,
process addiction.
It's so interesting. It's like the inverse of me. Like I'm all about substances, and that's never been your thing. But what the gambling thing came in a lot earlier in your life than I realized.
Well, when people say OCD, right? They think a lot of hand washing, or when I walk, I have to step on a certain, and I was like that as a young child. Like when I walked to school, I had to step on the line of the sidewalk squares. Like I couldn't stand on the square part. And then if I missed one, I had to go back and do it, like I had that. And then I was like, oh, I haven't had weird hang-ups like that in years. And my therapist pointed out, you have the most severe case of OCD ever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have. They go, so for me, and all the stuff that I've learned is, it helps, right? It helps for you to go, I'm an alcoholic, right? But is that helps with that, because you need to stop that behavior at that moment. But, as you know, things, if you don't get to the core and cut it out, then it's whack-a-mole, right? It jumps. So then you become a drug addict, and you stop that. Then you become a sex and love addict. Then you stop that. Then you become a workaholic. And a lot of these things can cross over. And so for me, I was a thief. From the time I can remember, my brother showed me how to shoplift when I was 6 or 7. I remember Star Wars figures were 99 cents at the time, and I remember another instance of how I'm not enough. Our allowance was 50 cents, so I worked 2 weeks so I could buy this Star Wars figure from the drugstore. And then I go, I have $1, so I put the thing on, and the tax comes out 107 or something, and I put the money out, and she's like, you don't have enough? I go, that thing's 99 cents. And she's like, there's a thing called tax. And I'm a little kid going, wait, so I can't have that? And she's like, no, you can't have it. And I'm like, oh shit, I just worked 2 weeks for that. And they're like, yeah, you need like 10 more cents. And I was like, holy shit. And then we walk out of the store, and my brother's like, I got it. And I'm like, well, you get 50 cents too. Where did you get the extra 10 cents? And he's like, oh, I pulled it out of the thing. So I was like, you don't have to pay for things? And he's like, no, you just steal. You just take whatever you want. And I was like, whoa, it's such a... And then, of course, I grew up in a super religious family where there's these sayings framed all over my house. Do not steal, and I was like, of course, I got to steal now,
Yeah.
So I stole every single day of my life from age 8 till I was like probably in my early 20s.
Every day? Every
single day. And sometimes, and it was, I didn't need to steal, right? Like some of the stuff, and, oh, so you're a kleptomaniac. And in my mind, I would steal a lot of food and give it to homeless people. I had no one wants to think of themselves as a bad guy, right? So I would steal like some art supplies that I needed, and I'm like, oh, I'm a thief. That's horrible. I don't want to. So I have to correct that. I'm going to go out and steal from a corporation and give to the poor. So I knew where all the homeless people in my neighborhood lived, and I would go steal food. And it took years. Like that's, once again, there's a story. I'm a hero.
Yeah.
I steal from rich people and I give to poor people. I'm a good guy, and people would be like, you're a thief. You're a thief. You steal. That's not good. And I'd be like,
how does that relate to OCD though?
Because I had to steal every day.
Oh, I see. The
every single day I had to steal.
Of it.
Like there, and that also.
What would happen if you went a day without stealing?
So it was a combination of steal and break the law. So my go-to was if I was laying in bed and I was like, it was like anything from like stealing a kid's homework, so to copy off of, or like any kind of like deviant behavior. This is crazy. I would have to climb out of my window. I had to break out of my own house, hop the fence, and go across the street and jaywalk, and then go back inside my house just to be like, I broke a jaywalk. It had to be some kind of thing like that. And then I got caught a bunch of times. I went to jail a bunch of times. And then I just decided one day, hey, like my mind is so strong, I'm just going to stop cold turkey. And which I did. I've never stolen again since the day I decided I'm not going to steal again. But then the gambling went up.
Right.
And at that time...
It's squeezing the water balloon.
Yeah. And my friend, Joey, he was the first one of my friends who had a driver's permit. He got his driver's permit. He drove to Vegas by himself, and he came back and he said, there's a place in the desert and they play games of chance. And when you win, they let you keep the money. And I was like, let's go, you know? And
how old were you, like 15?
I was 15 and we had a fake ID from Alvaro Street in downtown. And, you know, so we're going to Vegas with like $20, $15 and like winning $40 or $6, and we were hooked. And it wasn't until years later that I realized both my mom and my dad are gambling addicts. I don't know if my dad's necessarily a gambling addict, but my mom definitely is. My dad, when we were growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. So he would go to Vegas every weekend and try to win rent money or whatever. And because I know my dad, he's not like he's a very conservative, like chill guy. He's not the guy that's like all in.
Yeah,
like he's
gambler.
So I already know that kind of gambling, and then like it's like you got to kind of be bold to win a lot of money.
But you were actually pretty successful.
Oh, I was very successful. I'd hacked the way to do that, and so as a FU to my dad, I had to, you know, I made a lot more money gambling than I did in art in the beginning. You know, so.
Yeah, because I thought that the gambling stuff happened, kind of kicked in after the whole Facebook thing, but it really was before.
Oh no,
a lot of that was full force before all of that.
Well, to put it into context, and you know, I know this story's been written about a lot, but what are some of the homeless artists gets lucky when he, you know, and just to frame that era, everyone was on MySpace. Right? Like everyone was like, Facebook was like this, it wasn't a joke, but it was like this niche social media for college students. So, and Sean Parker
with the Napster guy.
Yeah. Sean Parker, like I had met him right after the Napster thing when they were trying to get sued for $1 trillion. And he just was a fan of my art. And at that point, my art was starting, you know, it wasn't selling for, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions, but it was like I was a painting that had used to sell for 300. I was starting to sell for like 2,000 or 3,000. You know, so my star was starting to rise, and he wanted to get some artwork, but because he's this kid that was, you know, facing like, I don't know who was trying to sue him, like all the record labels, Metallica, whoever. He's like, you know, he's a very confident, determined. He's like, I will get your art someday, Dave Choe. And I was like, cool, come up with some scratch. And you know, so then he started another company, Plaxo. I don't know how it did. And then finally, when it came to Facebook, he explained this thing to me during the era of MySpace. And I'm like, this sounds horrible. The name sounds horrible. The logo's horrible. I'm like, can I redo the logo? Like, he's just like, this thing's going to take over the world. And I'm like, how? How is a college social network, you know? and so I had just gotten out of prison in Japan, and I owed everyone money. And
you like punched a guy at your show or something like that?
Yeah, I punched under, you know, that's a whole other story I can get into, but I needed a lot of money fast. And so it was a blessing that he was like, hey, Dave Choe, I told you one day I'm going to get a painting from you. We got funding from Peter at PayPal. Like, and I said, okay. So he's like, so what are you charging now? And I'm like, what do you want me to paint? He's like, I want you to paint a mural on every single floor. And I was like, you know, I had never gotten a job like that, but I'm like, okay, if one painting of mine selling for like $5,000 now, that's like multiple. So I said 60 grand. And if he said yes, because no one had ever paid me 60 grand before, you know, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money now, right? And he's like, okay. Like he's like, all right, cool, we can get you that. And I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna be able to pay everyone back. And because I'm a gambler, he goes, or you could take stock. And that's, people are like, oh, he's so lucky, but it's because I was a degenerate. The appropriate,
and at the time, that was a crazy bet.
The right thing to do would have been, the right thing to do would have been to take the money, pay back my girlfriend at the time, all my friends who paid for my lawyer in Japan, pay all my back rent. Like, that's the right thing to do. And so they're like, I remember my friends going, Facebook? Like, dude, go back, get your money, you know? But that's because I was a degenerate gambler. I would take my Toys R Us, you know, paycheck and go to Vegas and lose it all. And I was like, there's got to be a way to win at this. There's got to be a way, because everyone who gambles has the same story. I was winning, right? So there's always that part where they were winning, and then I lost it all. And I go, well, how can we change this story where it was like I was winning, period, you know? And I was like, oh, it's a vice. It's like an addiction. It's like when I hear an alcoholic say, 2 beers and I was good. I was the life of the party. I was buzzing. I was having a good time. And so why don't you stop there? Well, because I'm an addict. And then you have another one, then you're wasted. So all of these things is just like, how can I win at life? How can I win at life? How can I feel good through all these things that are supposed to make you feel good, and then stop? And I go, oh, I have no self-control. I can't stop myself, but someone else can. But that's not realistic. If I was an alcoholic, is that realistic for me to go to a bar and pay someone to drink with me, and on my third beer but like literally like slap the beer out of my hand? Like, is that really gonna happen? And I go, well, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it can't happen. So I paid my friend Harry Kim to come with me to Vegas for 7 years. And every time I was winning, he would physically take the money, put it in his pocket, go upstairs and lock it up, and made sure and I was like, but we were on a winning streak. Like, we could win more. And he's like, we're done. And sometimes he would have to physically drag me away from the table. And the pit bosses and all the people that worked at the casino were like, we've never seen anything like this before. We've never seen someone pay someone to stop someone. And I go, well, and all I had to do.
Is that like technically cheating? Do they end up cutting you off because you have a system?
They cut me off at 2 casinos. And then ultimately when my first GA meeting, Gamblers Anonymous meeting I ever went to, and I got sober from gambling in Hawaii, which I chose Hawaii for my rehab because that's the only state in America where there's no casinos. So there was no GA meetings there. And they said, you should go to AA meetings. And I go, well, I'm not an alcoholic. And they go, well, you go to the AA meeting and whenever they say a drink or alcohol, just replace it with casino, gambling, but you can't share at those meetings, because you can only share for that particular thing. And as someone who likes to talk a lot, that was really humbling to go to 300-400 plus AA meetings and never share once and just hear everyone else's story.
And everyone's going, who's that guy? He never shares, man. That guy's got some darkness.
Exactly.
But the flip side of the gambling addict thing is, you set up this control, but part of the compulsion is that attachment to also losing, like the anticipation.
Well, here I'll sum it up for you. So I've been to every type of 12-step meeting. And one's like, because I'll be in a city where, oh shit, I can't find a gamblers, overeaters, or sex and love addict, or whatever the addiction, codependence.
You're Helena Bonham Carter and Fight Club, or
exactly.
Ed Norton. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's only an AA meeting, or Narcotics Anonymous, or Marijuana Anonymous. So I'll go to that meeting, even though that's not my addiction. And as I listen to thousands of people share their story, I go, oh, it's all gambling. Every addiction is gambling addiction. When you drink and you get in a car, you're like, I kind of don't care if I make it home or not, right? That's gambling. When you're like having sex and you're like, I'm not going to wear a condom, and you're like, oh, I might have a kid, I might get AIDS, that's gambling. And so to go to my first Gamblers Anonymous meeting after going to 400 AA meetings in Los Angeles, I was shocked, because AA meetings and drug NA meetings are kind of like parties in LA, right? Like, it's very social. There are bright lights, a lot
especially in LA.
300 people, there's celebrities, speakers. It's when you go to a sex addicts meeting, a gamblers addicts meeting, the process ones, there's more shame.
Yeah.
So the lights are a little
really
lower.
Fucking dark.
It's darker. There's a lot of shares that end with suicide attempts, So I went to a GA meeting, and we went in a circle, and every single share, it was a small meeting, it was like 6 people. every single person shared about how they try to kill themselves. And I've said this before, it's the reason why they don't have balconies in Vegas, because if they did, there'd be someone jumping off every day. 1 out of 4 gambling addicts kills themselves. So people go, gambling, I don't understand. It's like, so I'm sitting at the meeting and everyone's like telling how much money they've stolen from their family or lied and manipulated people out of so that they could keep gambling, getting that one lotto scratcher, horse rate, everything, right? And I'm scared to share because it's going around the circle and it gets to me and I'm like, I just won $3 million at my last,
It's so crazy.
And I feel exactly the same as you. You just said you broke into a car to steal a quarter so you can get the next scratcher. I'm sitting here telling you I have 2 rotting lobsters in my hotel room. I'm having sex with all these prostitutes and gambling with millions of dollars, winning, handing like $100 bills to everyone I know, and I feel exactly the same as you. So I sat there and I go, how do I feel? How did I feel when I won $3 million on my last trip, right? And I'm playing a $250,000 hands of blackjack in private rooms, And at that point, I felt very little, But you win $3 million, it feels good. But not that good, because I was already rich. When I lose $3 million, and even better yet, when I lose 30 million, then that feels amazing, right? That feels amazing. So I think that was the disconnect with trying to talk to people in my tribe who are addicts and people who aren't addicts, right? And it doesn't matter if you're an addict or you're not an addict, because everyone knows an addict or at least has one in their family. So that's the thing when people go, I don't understand. Why don't you stop drinking? Or why don't you stop the behavior? It's like, I want to fucking lose. That's why. Do you get it? Do you understand now? I don't want to win. I'm happier when I'm losing. I want to lose everything.
But that's even harder for somebody to understand because you're not operating on a rational plane.
Right.
You're trying to, numb the discomfort of your internal pain while also seeking to feel something that will make you feel alive. And if winning's not going to do it, losing certainly is going to. And it doesn't matter what that feeling is, as long as it's a feeling different from however you feel.
Right. And so, sorry, I got fired up there for a second.
Go ahead. No.
So that's hard to explain. That's hard to understand. Like, wait, you're trying to wrap your non-addict brain around someone who's doing everything they can to run away from everything, feel numb, feel nothing, feel everything. And so everything was off. I did like these expensive brain scans to show that I had like frontal, like a kind of temporary brain damage from just like complete overstimulation.
Your dopamine must have been completely fucked up.
And so doctor's orders, take a year off. And I had to sit in that. And it's like, well,
when was that?
This was 7 years ago.
So is this like the bottom?
I had never hit a bottom, which, when I asked you about the podcasting, you're like, it's good, and there's the negative. So one of the things that I taught myself into being a successful gambler was, it's the golden rule: get out while you're ahead, right? It's like, how do you win at life? Get out while. It's like, I look at a guy like Conor McGregor, like just loved and, just, dude, if he had just stopped like 3-4 fights ago, he would just be a legend forever. And now he's starting to turn into the villain. And I'm like, fuck, if he just got out while he's ahead. And I think of, a lot of people like that. But you get addicted to the attention or whatever the thing is.
If you don't, and if you don't, die at 27 and become that like glorified.
Right, and that's what I was playing for. I was trying to die. I was like, once I hit 30, I was like, shit, it was supposed to happen before that. Now I'm 45. So the positives, if I'm looking at the bright side of gambling, I had taught myself through discipline and hard work how to get out while I was ahead. So,
which is a very non-addict thing.
Oh, right. And I was like, man, I've been to jail multiple times. I've lost, small fortunes. I've had this, like, I've always had this, like, kind of no matter how much I try to hurt myself, this is what it was. I've always, shit, I might start crying talking about it, but I've always, my entire life, have valued friends over everything, right? So I've learned a lot now. I have a lot of tools. I've learned a lot of things in recovery, but I have like the same friends that I've met when I was in third grade, you know, since I was 8 years old. And I would do anything for my friends. And I know that they feel the same. So I knew like girlfriends would come and go. I knew things, but I was like, what is the one thing that I must, because you hear stories, you're like, oh yeah, we used to be friends in college and, you know, life happens and then you grow. And I was like, no, like things come and go. The one thing that has to like stay constant in my life is friendship. So I nurtured those things. I made sure no matter what happened in my life, I would take trips, I would call, and when we say love, we usually tend to refer to romantic relationships. But for me, I was like, love is, for me, like man love, me loving another man, calling a guy to tell him how much I love him. And so that, if I didn't have that, I would be dead right now. If I didn't I can tell you 3 stories right now where if I didn't have a guy in my life that was like, we're not doing this, Dave, like I would be dead right now. So that's the one. And even in all the recovery places, people were like, holy fuck, dude, you're getting a letter every day from someone? Like we have more friends than anyone. And I said that without that, and I know that's not in the 12 steps or certain things, but like one of the most important things for my life and my recovery is these friendships are invaluable. So, you know.
Yeah. I think that kept you alive. It's like, have you read Johan Hari's book, Lost Connection?
Oh, yeah,
it's kind of
absolutely.
all about that, right? So while you're out there like freewheeling and getting like crazier than anyone can imagine, you have all these friends who are trying to, know, get your attention. Right. And, you know, as any good addict will tell you, like, you just can't hear it like until you're ready. So even though you say you didn't have a bottom, you did reach a point where you were receptive to some level of self-care or listening to what your friends were trying to tell you.
Barely receptive,
but enough to save your life, right?
I had, my therapist likes to say, hope is not a plan. And I have, people don't tend to think of me as a guy who's like very calculated or has plans, but I had planned my bottom. I knew how much money I had in my bank account. I knew, my brain, like in the same way I pull off this exit here, my brain instantly knows which fast food places I'm going to eat at after this interview. I know. So in my mind, whether I wrote it out or not, like it had a plan of like, and then you'll lose this, then you'll go on this bender, and then this, and then you may die from this thing, but if you live, then you do this, this, and this. And so in my brain, I always knew that there's treatment centers. I knew that there's hospitals. I knew that there's pills I could take. I knew there's people I could talk to, but it was like, not yet. A little bit further to go, right? And the ultimate when someone's like, I hit a bottom, there's always a further bottom until it's death, right? Death is the final bottom. So I was like, I'm 25% away from the bottom that I would like clean up my life, And I actually hear this a lot from young men. I talk to a lot of young men in their 20s, and they're like, man, you've done so much fucked up shit, Dave. Like, I feel like almost like I need to do a little bit more before I get help. And the deceptive side of addiction is, if you tell someone you have a problem with fentanyl or alcohol, they go, oh, you got a real problem. You better take care of that. But it's completely acceptable today in our society for a young person to wake up, gamify their love life, right? Swiping, and then play video games for multiple hours, masturbate to porn, smoke the most powerful weed. And that's just, that's not a problem. That's just life. Everyone does that.
Yeah, that's the way life is.
And if I go to my manager and he opens up my Instagram and he shows me my DMs, it's just, I'm lost. Want to kill myself. Give me, some things I can do, and it's just, so I sat there in the same way. I was like, what really is my problem? I wish I had a sex addiction. I was sleeping with multiple women a day and not enjoying any of it. I was winning millions of dollars a day and not enjoying any of it. Oh, boo-hoo, Dave, boo-hoo. And I go, but it's a problem for me. It's a problem for me.
But that becomes an impediment to reaching out for help, because it's like, who's going to,
yeah, and that's why,
that.
And right. People always go, well, we don't understand why a guy like Bourdain killed himself. And I go, that's why. Right. Because he's already a god, and everyone considers him the most interesting man in the world. Is that guy allowed to come to you and say, yo, I'm like you? Mm-hmm. Well, dude, come on, man. You got, Yeah. So that's where I was at.
Yeah.
I was hiding in plain sight in all these social acceptable, having too much sex, gambling, and like, just, man, you go to, fly to Vegas in a private jet and a Bentley picks you up, and, and I was dying inside.
Mm-hmm. But you did have that group of friends who knew that it was out of control and were trying to help you. So, had you raised your hand earlier, that peer group who, didn't they intervene on you a bunch of times? They were trying to help you out. They could have caught you a little bit sooner.
There was another intervention in the rehab to stay. Like, I tried to get out.
How many rehabs did you go to?
I've been to, well, I don't know if rehab's the right words. I've been to
centers.
I've been to the Meadows. I've been to Pine Grove, Esalen, Hoffman, PCH. I can't.
Yeah, some of those are more behavioral.
Yeah, a lot of it's behavioral stuff. Yeah. So, the last one they physically, and that kind of, when you pick a sponsor and stuff, you're like, do I want a sponsor who's going to be like nice to me and be gentle, or do I want, like drill sergeant? So I today I need more gentleness, but I was at the time in my life where I wouldn't, because of how I was raised, I really wouldn't respond to people unless they were yelling at me or physically. So that's what I needed at the time. Yeah. And in my mind, I was like, shit, there was, and my friend, one of my closest friends, he said to me in the car ride, he said, hey, listen, like, we can't change you. We can't control you. So if you want to get out of the car right now, go ahead. But you're not an idiot. You know how this story ends. You've seen enough. You've watched enough movies. You know enough people. Like, you will die. You will go to jail again. These things will happen. So the only thing you got to question is, do you want to do it now, or do you want to wait till you hit your bottom? And I was like, I kind of want to wait till I hit that bottom. And in that moment of sobriety and clarity, I was like, I'll get the help now. And then I went to my first place, and I met people who it was just like shocking, just people, as an addict. These are those things, like when you're growing up and you're innocent and you're a kid, and when I look at children and they're just pure, and you tell yourself, whether you just start casually drinking or casually looking at porn or casually smoking marijuana, you go, well, I'll never suck a dick for crack on Skid Row.
Yeah, it's not the plan for anybody.
But then it happens. So I think of how many things in my life I said, I'll never do that. And yet here I am doing these things. And then the addict craves novelty, right? So you play the thing out until you don't feel anymore. And then you're like, what's behind door number 2? And and then the final door is death. Yeah. So I got to meet the people who took it to the furthest, and I was like, holy shit, I'm so glad I pulled the parachute when I did, And and today, I have I am a sponsor to a lot of people in different programs, and I have a lot of shame that I've never gotten anyone past step 2 in the 12 steps, because, I take people through the way my sponsor took me through. And one of the things is I've yet to meet someone with the iron will, a well-disciplined brain who can resist the temptations of a cell phone, right? Because what is a cell phone? It is a drug dealer, strip club, casino. Like, I could tell you a million stories of how I used to get high off those things and what I had to do to get porn when I was 15, what I had to do to get to a casino. Now it's just this.
Right.
So I'm not going to be able to resist that. So what's the first thing anyone says when they say, we need to take your phone away, or we need to block your phone so that you have a child-safe phone? Oh, I need it for work, right? Oh, it's for work? Okay, right? Then it's okay. And they go, well, can you have someone else do the work stuff for you? Oh, no, I got to do it myself. So until I was ready to fully surrender, which took years, and now I'm so liberated, right? You would think, oh, why do you need to restrict me? And like the news and shit, like you got to be informed. I was like, I know what's going on. Enough people have phones. They tell me what's going on.
So you literally don't have a phone, haven't had one.
I have a phone, but it has
stripped of all the apps or whatever.
There's two main apps. It's called MobiSip and Covenant Eyes. There might be a better one now, but my phone I can only use it to take pictures and to call people or text. That's it.
Right.
So I can't like look at the internet, and I can't, So it's
how long have you been doing that? 5
years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it changed my life.
I mean, it has to just make you a happier person.
Oh my God, it's like, one of the luxuries. I spend a lot of time, and I'm sad that I haven't been able to since COVID, in Tanzania with this tribe, the Hadza. They're a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that on Rogan.
So, I mean, when you wake up in your day, and what are the things that we say here in our, I need a job, I'm looking for a job, or, what should I do today? Like, when you're a hunter-gatherer, you have a job. It's get food. That's it. Every day when you wake up, it's get food, and there's no free time. So when I come home and the anxiety and the stress and all these things start to build, even without a phone, just living in a city, because the city is an unnatural kind of thing, that free time, that freedom of like having free time is the thing that, if I have free time, I will get into trouble, right? Idle hands are the devil's playground, all that stuff. Like, I will get into some stuff. So to wake up and just have purpose, So one of the things is restricting the phone so that I don't even have, I don't know what I don't know. It's just, and then having things in my life that are meaningful. And, one of the hardest things was doing that, surrendering the phone. And then the second thing was lying, which comes in many different forms, right? Like, you're a liar. Everyone listening to this thing is a liar. No, I'm not. I'm not a liar. And I go, well, there's lying by withholding information. There's lying through storytelling, changing details, exaggeration. And there's, using, that's not lying, but like using humor to like, deflect. There's all these things. So it took me forever to just admit that I was a liar. Yeah. I was at a place that was pretty severe. They put you on a lie detector every week, and they ask you questions, and my
like
thing,
to rewire your brain.
Brain. I go, this isn't normal. Like, no one's gonna put me on a lie detector in real life. They go, we know that, but while you're here and you're getting help, we want you to. And I go, but people know me as a storyteller. If I don't exaggerate and come up with funny anecdotes and then who am I? And they go, that's fine. There's a time and place for that. And my brain is so binary with I'm either this guy or this. You can't, and they're like, you can. There's a time and place for things, and it just took forever. Where the place where I was at was so serious and so depressing and so much trauma and addiction and all these things, that I was the class clown, right? Every meeting would end with me going, turning a joke into everything. So on one leg, they put a sticker that said no joking. And then on the other leg, it said no lying. So
all your tools.
All my tools. And they said, look, we're not, they're like, we're not your friend. We're your treatment team. Like, you do whatever the fuck you want when you get out of here, but we're not judging you.
Yeah.
You lying, where did you learn how to lie? From your parents, from the way you grew up? You grew up in a very unsafe environment, so you had to train yourself to lie so that you could be safe. So for that, you could be grateful. But guess what? You're not a kid anymore. You don't ever need to lie again, ever. But because it's so ingrained into how you speak, sometimes you just do it without. So I go, well, what do I do in that situation? They go, well, you can correct yourself within 24 hours. And I go, what? So when you lie and you catch yourself and you tell a story that you've told a million times, and then you're like, wait a second, that actually isn't true. And that was like, I mean, that threw my friends. They were like, what the fuck? Who are you? I would say something and they would be like, hey, you run today? And I'm like, yeah, I did a quick hike. And then
the next day.
And then I'd call them an hour later. Hey, I go, hey, you know when I said I did a hike? I actually just went outside to get the newspaper. And
one of those things was the story that you told repeatedly around like the television show thing, right?
Right. See, I'm even trying to go like, what's the lie and what's the truth? I had just done Howard Stern, and Scott Rudin had heard the interview, and he said, I don't understand how no one's optioned your life for a TV show yet. And so I do some quick research. Who's Scott Rudin? I'm like, oh shit. He's the EGOT. He's done everything, he's done, he's done every single TV show that I watch and every movie that I like. And he's like, what, if I was to turn your life into a TV show, how do you see that? And I'm like, it has to be irreverent, has to be ridiculous. It has to be like Curb Your Enthusiasm. It has to be the most ridiculous version of me and use me at my expense, like humiliate the shit out of me. Like the more you make me look like a loser and stuff, the better. And he's like, I got the perfect guy for you. And so this was the rehab. I was in Hawaii for gambling addiction, or that's what they told me on the phone. And I got there and they'd never heard of it. So I was at this rehab where everyone was there for meth and I was there going. So they, this was probably not appropriate, but a week in, I'd barely just gotten in. They sent Harris Whittles, who had written for Parks and Rec and Eastbound and Down, to interview me. And he was interviewing me and there's, I don't know, like 100 hours of tape of me telling him all my childhood stories and all the crazy stuff I did. And so that was one deal. And then the other deal was Bourdain had been grooming me to, he wanted me to write a book for him on his publishing label. And he, his team were like, he's not going to do this forever, right? So, he wants to pass the mantle at some point. And, I'm like, holy fuck. He goes, the thing with you and Tony is, I had a show on Vice called Thumbs Up where I hitchhike around the world.
Right.
And, I don't know, a couple people saw that, but, and he has like the biggest show. But he goes, but for you to travel and talk to people, that's just your life. It's not like you would have to like do that, so your life is very similar to his. And instead of the food angle, you could do like an art angle. And I was just like so sick in all of my addictions. And I'm like, and yet, once again, I'm being rewarded. I'm getting these TV show deals. And that wasn't the lie. Those things were true. But then I said something on my podcast that got me canceled and all those deals disappeared. And because I couldn't live with, abandonment and rejection is one of my biggest traumas. You don't fucking say no to me. I say no to you. And as long as I'm talking on the mic, edit, remix, like, I turned those offers down.
Yeah. The story that you told is that you walked away from that because you had this self-awareness that you didn't want to have a life that was like Tony's, that made it very difficult for him to be in public. And you're like, I have enough money. Like, I don't really want that piece of fame. So I don't need that, which made you sound like courageous and heroic.
And actually, so that it's not so binary, there was truth in that, like, but that option was just taken away. Like I was contemplating, do I want a TV show? Is this what I want? It was like, record scratch, it's off the table. And I was like, okay, I guess it doesn't really matter.
Meanwhile, Harris overdoses and dies from Yeah.
So
Who I knew him a little bit, not well, but
yeah, I mean, he died while I was at the Meadows, and he had just gone sober. Mm-hmm. So he texted me, and one of the reasons why that show didn't move forward was the script that he turned in was horrible, and I was so codependent with him at that point. I didn't know how to. I was like, this guy's one of my favorite writers, and he had told me he had started taking, OxyContin one a night, and I didn't know what that was until I learned at this place that was supposed to be for gambling that's like basically heroin. And I was like, whoa, you better be careful, man. He's like, I got it, Dave. I'm all right. So looking back, I'm like, man, he asked a lot of like recovery questions when he came to interview me. And I was like, oh, maybe he was like trying to get help for himself, And so when I was at my second rehab at the Meadows, he had died. But the last text he sent me was, hey, Dave, I'm so sorry about that script I sent like a year ago. It was, I don't know if you know, but I was like so messed up on drugs. It was like the worst thing I've ever written. I owe you a new script. And I'll see you when you get out of this place. Like, try not to have sex with any of the nurses, or something like that. Yeah. Something like Harris. And then like 2 weeks later, I found out that he had passed, and that was my perfect excuse to get out of rehab. I was like, my friend's dead. I got to go to his funeral, and they're like, you just got into treatment, like a real place, not like the place that says they're for gambling. Do you think your friend who's dead now would want that for you? And I was like, fuck you for saying that. Like, fuck, like who like, he's my friend. Of course I'm going to go to his funeral and pay. And they're like, your friend died in addiction. Do you think he'd want you to leave? And that just made me so angry, but everything made me angry. Right. So,
right. You weren't exactly in a place of surrender. Right.
But I did. I surrendered, and they said, look, we can have a memorial service like in the desert. You can pick a place and you can honor him how you want to honor him. And so I did that instead, and it's just, I've just seen, I've just been to so many of these places, and they're so expensive, and I go to these AA meetings, and they're free, and I sit here, and it's not me just rebelling just to rebel, or to challenge just to challenge, but it's like whenever Bill started AA, he's like, okay, it was a different time, right?
Yeah.
So, and you've talked to so many people, and I've talked to so many people, and I sit here and I go, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and yet we all know addicts, or we are addicts ourselves. And so there's all this, like, isn't the anonymity part of the shame, right? Like, and I think to my days as a graffiti artist, right? And I was on tour with this guy Saber and Retna, and we go to a strip club, and the strippers have anonymous names. Hi, I'm Laser. Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm like, everyone has superhero, supervillain names.
Which is also derived out of shame.
Right. It's all shame.
Maybe protecting them also, because it's dangerous to do that.
Right.
Weird stalkers and stuff like that. But it is
but now we live in a world of OnlyFans, and porn stars are more accepted, and sex workers are more accepted. And I've been to meetings where the most powerful, famous people on the planet are there, and yet and I go, can we get rid of, I don't know if we're there yet, but can we get to a place closer where we get rid of the anonymous part?
Yeah.
It's
tricky.
Right.
It's tricky. I mean, I've made personal choices around my own anonymity or lack thereof, but I'm also cautious about protecting other people's anonymity. And then the line gets really gray when it comes to just talking about AA generally on a public platform, because technically it violates one of the traditions. So I never know where that line is, because my motivation is I want people to understand that this is something that's available to them. I want to destigmatize it, because I had a lot of shame about going into it, and I had a lot of assumptions and judgments about what it was based on what I saw on television or movies and having no real connection to it or knowing anybody that was in it because it's anonymous. And yet there still is a lot of stigma, not everywhere is Los Angeles.
So how do we, that's true.
Well, we talk about it. I think we talk about it, but we're careful and conscious about the way in which we talk about it.
Well, part of the 12 steps is higher power, right? And so for someone who grew up with spiritual and religious abuse, that was the part where I was like, I'll just cut this part out. Yeah. I'll do 11 steps, or I'll do 7 steps. I don't need these. I was like trying to edit, pick and choose. And you bring up tradition, right? That as humans we like structure, we like tradition, we like and I just had so much trouble with that part. I'm like, I grew up in a really religious, abusive house, and I don't pray to God. I don't do any of that stuff, And they go, well, you're gonna have a tough time because, and the way they word it is like the higher power of your understanding, right? And I go, I don't understand any higher power. And then I finally had a sponsor that said, I don't care. They're like, you're mortal, right? You're a human being. I go, yeah. So your ego, like what part of you thinks that you would ever understand, see, or comprehend what God is? And I go, so I don't give a shit if you're like, so you go through all the religions, all the history of the world, and you're like, my God is blue and has 20 arms. Mine has a beard. Like, didn't you say you're an artist? I go, yeah, I'm an artist. Someone made that church. Someone wrote that hymn. Someone designed that, flying buttress. Someone made that hat. And like, these are humans. Like, they might be touched by God, but someone made these things. Like, someone drew that portrait of Jesus. Like, you're very limiting when it comes to, like, why don't you draw your own God? And I was like, whoa, that's a heavy homework assignment. And he's like, until you do that, like, I actually don't care. I want you to get on your hands and knees, which is a very humbling position. Like praying, like sitting up, putting your hand, like get like begging position. I need food. I need water. Like, please, sir, give me your clothes. Like, I want you to get in the begging position and beg for your life back every night. That's how you pray. And so that's how I got in touch with my higher power. And then today, not trying to use my head too much, but just more my heart. Like, people like to talk about, I'm in the flow or something like that. Like, and I go, creativity is God. Like, us as humans, what differentiates us from other animals? And I go, when I'm creating, that's me praying. When someone's like sitting and like life is boring, I'm in a prison cell or I'm at home and life has no meaning, and it's just like, wait, I got an idea for a song, or I want to try to make a new kind of silverware eating utensil. I got a new idea. Like, I'm like, that is conscious contact with a higher power. That is me directly, God speaking to me and me speaking to God. And so, I don't know. That's just the antisocial side of me. That's always questioning, okay, so the 12 traditions are like, we have to be press and media, how we talk about this and that. And I go, what did I learn in all the 12-step meetings I've been to? What did I learn in all the behavioral places, the mental hospitals? Like, I've been to so many, and it's like, did you have to be the most messed up? Did you have to hit a bottom to go there? Did you have to have an addiction to go there? And it's like, no. I think about school and education. What did I learn? Photosynthesis. Did I need to know that? Did I need algebra? All these things I learned. And it's like, did I need to learn how to speak up for myself, ask for what my needs are? Did I need someone to show me what a boundary is and how to use it? Like, I mean, like, I'll tell you something that happened today that, like, I was like gleaming on the car right here. It took me like an hour to get here, and I was just like overjoyed. My mom's been doing this like kind of massage thing to me since I was a kid, where I guess it's Asian, where she just steps on my back, and she's just like all my pressure points. So she saw me and she's like, "You're fat. You look fat and disgusting." I go, "Thanks, Mom." She goes, "Your neck, your posture is horrible." And I've put on a lot of weight during the pandemic, and she's like, "Get down. I'm gonna massage you." And as she's massaging me, she starts talking about some Bible story, and and one of the boundaries I've had in my life is, I'm not telling you how to worship your God. Just when you come into my home, like I would like it if you didn't do that. And so the child in me would be like, Mom, if you fucking do that, I'm never going to talk to you again. It's very childish, immature, and she already knows I will talk to her again. So as they say, boundaries without consequences is just a request. So she starts doing that, and then I have what the therapist called emotional incest with my mom. Like she's enmeshed with me.
Yeah, enmeshment. Mm-hmm.
So another thing that she said. So as you know, lower back, all Joseph in the Bible and the Technicolor Dreamcoat and whatever, and I'm like, I go, oh, I have a voice. I can say, hey, Mom, I've asked you not to, but instead, because she's literally stepping on me like verbally, I didn't say anything. So as she gets higher, she goes, it doesn't really matter who you choose to be with, who you start a family with, they'll never be your mother. And I go, oh, great. And she goes, and like,
so fucking
and she's
loaded.
Literally stepping on my head while she's saying this. And she goes,
like physically repressing you.
Yeah, physically repressing.
While she's, laying down the emotional fucking dead weight.
If it's so funny and sad at the same time because it's comical.
Well, it's driven by her fear. Like she's afraid that she's going to lose you.
Right. And in that moment, I can, at this point, I'm so in tune with my body that I can go, okay, time to send my mind somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Like I'm going to consciously disassociate because I don't. And so I go, part of my self-defense mechanisms is humor. So I got to turn this into a joke now. And I go, so what, Mom? Like, what do you mean? She's like, well, if you get married and you start a family, like, say you kill someone. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. She goes, say you murder someone. Your wife may or may not protect you. But me, I'm going to hide you. I'm going to get you to, And I just start dying. I'm like laughing. And I'm laughing because I want to cry, And she leaves, she finishes stepping on my head and my neck, and then she leaves. And
asserting her dominance.
Yeah, she's like, I'm the main bitch in your life, and just and don't you forget it, And she leaves, and I sit there and I go, I feel horrible right now, I don't feel good, and I start to think, I don't have Rich till like 11. I should go eat a cheeseburger at McDonald's right now. That'll make me feel better. And I go, oh, how about I reinforce that boundary, So I drive to her house before I come here, and I open with gratitude and positivity. I go, Mom, so it's not like I don't want it to be a shaming thing with her. And I also don't want to go into codependence where I'm like protecting, but you're a good mom, I say, hey, Mom, I come here with love. You know that I love you. You know how much you mean to me. And yet I've asked you repeatedly not to, and this is what my therapist taught me. They're like, if you're cutting someone out of your life, it's one and done, right? You're like, don't do this, and the next time you do it, you're out. But if it's someone like a family member that you want to keep in your life, you will have to train them like a dog. Like the neuroplasticity stuff, it's like, it's not like you're going to hold the boundary once and they're going to learn. You will have to repeatedly do that. So you're going to have these awkward, uncomfortable conversations. But I'm at the point now where I'm in 7 years, so I like awkward, uncomfortable conversations. And so I said, hey, I've asked you not to bring up, the Jesus stuff. And I've asked you to not, do this stuff where you own me and you're my property. It's disrespectful to the people in my life, and it's not cool, and it doesn't make me feel good. She launches immediately, like the playbook says, into defense. Oh, gaslighting. No. You heard me wrong. That's not what I was saying. Maybe it's because it's English. Let me say it in Korean. Says the exact same thing. And I find myself reverting to a 12-year-old go.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. And I go, so I've heard everything you said, and I still love you. And because you didn't, do what I asked when you come to my house, because I love you, but I also love myself, I need a timeout from you, and you can't come into my house for the next 2 weeks. And you know, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm cool. And then, you know, on the way here, she texted me, "You're going to like this." It's like her fuck you to me. I'm trying to be as functional in a dysfunctional.
The thing with that, though, is like doing it from a place of neutrality.
Right.
So that you're not triggered and you're not being reactive. And you're also not attached to whatever her reaction is or is not,
Dude,
right? Like she's going to react however she's going to react. It's not about changing her behavior. It's about reinforcing that boundary so that you're free and you're not carrying around all that like baggage and shame.
Rich, I'm free, man. Yeah. Like
What did she say? Did you read it?
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yeah.
It's her. I don't know how you want to take this, but here it is. Oops. Okay. Hi, with peace and love. I want to get some things off my chest because it's important for me that I am known. And like, that's also not how she talks. So someone's definitely writing. And I have a dog. And like, she's asked me, don't bring your dog in the house. And it's like a little dog that's not annoying at all. But because my mom has her own trauma with like a dog biting her when she was in Korea, I do not want dogs in my house. I am uncomfortable and I want this feeling to be respected. This is my house and I need to feel comfortable. And about mealtime, I work very hard on cooking good meals for everyone. I put a lot of love into it. Please, from now on, make sure that everyone waits for my prayer before we eat. Please respect me. Thank you.
That's fucking hilarious for so many reasons. Like we spent an hour on that text alone. Like on the one hand, it's awesome that she just completely deflected you and didn't acknowledge anything about what you said and just comes back with her own boundaries, which on another level, like good for her.
Yeah, no.
Like she's got some pain around whatever boundary you're disrespecting and she's asserting that boundary. So cool.
And so like a dog, it's funny that we're talking about dogs. All these behavioral places, I'm usually the youngest guy there. Like, you know, when I was 35, like most of the guys were in their 50s or 60s. And we're learning all these things about neuroplasticity and how to change behavior. And I'm like, these motherfuckers aren't going to change. Like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. They're not going to change. It's like, you have to do so much. I do believe in neuroplasticity, but you have to do so much work and focus and discipline for it to work. And I get out and I tell my brothers, this is all the shit I learned. And they're like, don't you think mom's going to change? And to her credit, she has. In the last 5 years, as I, like, to me, the reason why I feel good is good for her boundaries, because she wouldn't have said it like that
and
before.
Not sending you a reactive text, but like waiting a little bit, having somebody help her craft the language.
Exactly. I mean,
putting
this is
some thought into it.
You know, not to make it a race thing, I don't know any Asians that talk like this. Like, this is like advanced level karate. Like, and she did say, she did acknowledge me. You know, I said my boundaries and I said, for this reason, this is why you can't come over for 2 weeks. And then it's for me to just feel safe in my own house. Like, oh, here she is just creeping in again. And she lives 5 minutes from my house. That's why.
Right.
And so any other time in my life, number one, I could never say that to my mom. I'm your fucking mother. You don't talk to me that way. If I'm crossing your boundaries, good. You know how much shit I did for you? You know how much stuff I had to go through to bring you here? So, okay, I'll keep it down. So not only would I not bring it up, if I brought it up, it would be so much shame on like, but if you don't want to, you know, like, maybe not 2 weeks, maybe 3 days, you know, like, it would be a lot of backpedaling, apologizing, got to make sure she's okay. And all of it goes to, she's my elder, she's my mom, I respect her, you know, and the mortality of it. How much longer is she going to live?
Yeah. 10,
20, 30 years? I guess I'll just, you know, at the cost of me, I guess I'll just keep myself down for the next 20, 30 years. Yeah. And to speak up, it's like, she's an adult, she can take it. And so everyone in my family's noticed. They're like, wow, mom has changed. And so it's just, is that addiction stuff? It is, because all that, it's such a strange sentence to say out loud. My mom said something about God to me. I didn't know how to feel about it, so I lost $1 million at the casino and had sex with prostitutes I didn't want to. That's my old, it's like that's what happened. My mom said something to me, so now I did something so that my body would get hurt, or someone, I went on a podcast and said outrageous things about her so that I would feel more shame and people would hate me more, or I could end up canceling, like, that's how it would manifest myself. And there was...
And beneath it all is this child who is deeply sensitive and like naturally very empathetic, who has trouble processing all of the emotional stimuli that the world is throwing at him, compensates for that through all manner of behaviors and creating all kinds of chaos, only to return to this place where he has to heal himself so that he can embrace his natural tendency toward empathy and celebrate his sensitivity.
See, immediately, as I want to make a joke right now, but
But it's true. Like when you, the minute you walked in here, you defied my expectation of how you were going to comport yourself, because you were very calm and you were kind of quiet. And my relationship with you is seeing, kind of a little bit of the crazy. And then in watching your show, which is the whole reason that, we came together today, like I see somebody who, like, the whole motivation behind the show, it seems to me, at least what I got out of it, is your ability to sit with people in their pain and kind of celebrate our brokenness as something beautiful.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying all of that. So to go from the lies of the TV shows I had to, I have no desire to be on TV, and yet I am on TV, right? Like there's no part of me like,
you're a walking conundrum, in that, or like hypocritical, I think is cast like a negative connotation on it, but you contradict yourself. And part of that is what it means to be an artist, I think, at least in your case.
It's so fun for me to have like Bourdain's team call me, or David Chang, or, whoever, and say, hey, can you come on the show for, I hop in, I hop out. I have none of the pressure of carrying the show. It's fun for me. My life is a life of service now. That's something I'm also working, I can never say, it's so difficult. My therapist said, it's so easy for you to play the heel, right? That's how you get high. That's the more you play the heel, the more people talk about you, the more attention you get, the more money you get, the more all this. For you to go and say what you really do with your life, which is give your time to helping people, donate to all these things anonymously. Once again, anonymous. I go, well, it's such a douchey thing to be like, I donate to this and this. And they go, well, why not tell people what you do? Because as someone who some people do look up to you and look to you as a role model, for you to say, hey, on the Joe Rogan thing, talking about the Hadza, tons of people donated money and are helping with the cause now, and it's actually helping those people. And I go, yeah, I still feel weird, because it's like, look at me. And I don't want to be that guy that's like, I donate, I'm the hero. So I hide all the good things I do, because I don't want to, I don't know, that there's some kind of shame with someone saying I feel way more comfortable when people are like, I look at some of the replies of the show. They're like, oh, the show changed my life. It's great. And my friend was going to kill himself. He watched the show. It was great. And I just go through that. And then there's one going, you're a fraud. Your show is it's the garbage. Like, it's unwatchable. And I go, oh, here we go. Yeah. Now I like this, So it goes back to everything I'm talking about right now. I go, I'll spend an entire day with the kid, and he'll think nothing's wrong with him, and yet he's suicidal, and I can't. It's not drugs, it's not alcohol, so I'll give my life force and my energy to this kid, and at the end of the day, I'm so happy that I was able to help one other person, and then my ego flares up and goes, fuck, if that day was filmed and it was on TV, then I could have helped hundreds, millions of people, whatever. And yet it's just to be like, that was enough. I was enough that day. And, and so I always believe, like, and this is something I'm working on, but I believe 100% that nobody believes in me. I've been in pitch rooms, I've pitched TV shows before, and the way those 2 TV show deals got pulled out because I said something on a podcast, I go, okay, so I don't, and we live in a fear-based society, fear-based religion, fear-based, so I go, okay, the only way for me, and the way I look at the Choe Show, my TV show, is how can I give back the things I've learned to the most amount of people? And I go, is it on social media? Well, that's one component of it, but at this point, I still don't know too many kids that watch TV. Most kids I know watch YouTube and TikTok. But I go, I think TV is still relevant enough, and there's something going on in Topanga, Malibu, this area, like you, Rick Rubin, Neil Strauss, like there's like, I'll be honest, like I feel more comfortable now that we've sat here for a little bit, but like Neil Strauss is a friend of mine. He's one of the smartest guys I know.
I'm
he's
very
one of my
good friends with Neil.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite writers. I know that you know him, and I talked to him close to 9 to 12 hours. I don't remember because it went into the night and then the next day.
You mean when you were taping that episode?
So he's actually in the TV show for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, or less. But that day I was so intimidated in the same way when I was coming here. I'm like, he's so smart. He has so much information in that brain. He talks so fast. He's so witty. He's so clever. And so I'm like, oh man, I got to study. I got to, like in the same way, so many people in treatment, the way when you see it physically, when someone physically transforms their body into a bodybuilder and they're like, look at how strong I am. No one can ever hurt me. My dad beat me, but no one ever is going to, I'm a UFC muscle man fighter. No one's ever going to fight me. So many of the people that I've met in treatment are geniuses, right? They're brilliant. They have these, they've invented stuff. They've started entire economies. So their brains are, and as the therapist says, you're not going to outrun an emotion. No matter what, you think of Facebook, you're like, wow, this brilliant guy started a social media giant because he wanted to have sex with women.
Right.
And you think of Elon Musk, you're like, this guy is going to get us to Mars because he wants to run away from his dad, right? Like, it's just, what are we going to do when we get to Mars? We're going to mess up Mars. Like, why don't you just go to therapy? Like, and it's like that fear. He's like, I'm less scared of Martians and Mars than what I'm going to find out here,
Yeah.
So I go,
and to be living your life unconsciously reacting to that thing,
right.
And just action after action after action after action, creating
Wounded
a
warrior,
whole life
man.
around some wound.
Wounded warriors, man. My entire,
that you think that you can just push away.
I thought
and not deal with,
and that's why I guarantee you that you can run longer than me. But if we went out in the parking lot and did a 50-meter dash, I can beat you because I'm a sprinter 100%. And I can run so fast. And when I was doing thumbs up, when I was like, yeah, and I'm a gambler and I'm a da-da-da, people are like, what are you running away from? And it was that unconscious, like, I just can't sit still for 1 second. If I sit still for 1 second, then
discomfort.
It's discomfort.
Yeah.
So even sitting with Neil and then doing that talk, I know he had just started doing a podcast of reopening murder trials, and I felt great fear for his child, for his wife. And I just sat in that. I was like, I'm not going to outsmart Neil Strauss. He's smarter than me. He's more brilliant than me. I just want to tell my friend how I feel. And he was talking circles around me and someone needs to do it, Dave. Like, someone needs to, like, and I go, but why you? And so for hours, just verbal sparring and then finally after we finished, he got in the car, he's driving back to Malibu, and I call him and He's like, I got to apologize to you. And I was like, what? He's like, well, you were just trying to tell me how much you love me and how you're worried about me. And I just went into like intellectualism and I was like, fuck, I wish you could have said that on the show. And he's like, well, I owe you another better interview. So he came back and we talked for another 6 hours, and then he was way more vulnerable then. And I was like, these are conversations I've never seen in my life on television. And so in my mind, this is my life. In my life, I get naked with other men. I share every part of me, and they share their part, and we cry together, and I do this with everybody. And so when people go, oh, that's such a brave thing you did or whatever, it's just my norm. So when it was time to put something like this on television, people were, there was a lot of episodes that got pulled. You know, there's, in the last 7 years, I've interviewed over 2,000 people, and no one's, in the same way no one has ever heard some of these podcasts, and I have thousands of paintings no one's ever seen. There's still fear in me. I have a lot to share, and it's completely unedited. Like, it's just the whole spectrum of human, and everyone who cares about me and is saying, don't put that stuff out there. Mm-hmm. And so I go, you know what? One of the things that rich people tell other rich people is, don't pay for your own stuff. Like, why would you pay? You can get other people to pay for it. And I go, well, when other people pay for it, they get creative control, whatever. So I made the show exactly the way I wanted to. I talked to, all these people that I know or know of. And it was, I don't know if television is the medium for me, because they call it streaming wars for a reason. Mm-hmm. There's all these analytics and stuff that people go, okay, if you get Seth Rogen on your show, then you get more views. And, and I'm just trying to, it's the question I asked you earlier. For me to do a show like that, I know that I'm helping people and I'm helping myself, but what's the cost of that? Right? I
don't know. What is the cost of it? I mean, my sense in watching it is that it's very clear that it's this heart-centered piece. It's so creatively unique in its expression that it could only be you. So it's definitely, this sense of like living in your mind or kind of living inside of one of your paintings. And it's a reflection of all of this work that you've done. Like, as somebody, who's steeped in recovery and therapy and the like those are conversations that I have, that I've learned to have, that I look forward to, that I appreciate, that are, so important to my life. But I'm also very aware that that's not the norm with most people. So how do you give people a sense of what that can be like for them, the healing power of that and the beauty? And I think that you found a way to do it in a really entertaining and creative way, leading with vulnerability and guiding people who perhaps have no prior experience with anything like that, to show them not only like, are these conversations okay to have, but just how empowering they can be. And when you hear someone like, Neil or Steve-O or the other people that you've had, like, share their pain, and you realize, like, these are human beings. We don't get out of life alive. We all have our troubles and our obstacles and the things that we faced and had to overcome. It humanizes everybody. And I think it's like this healing frequency that comes out from the screen that is unusual in our media landscape right now. And I think that's why I personally responded to it.
And thank you for saying all that, not to downplay, but the show's not a cultural phenomenon. Like, sure. In my mind, I mean,
it's a hard sell. It's not.
My best friend called me and said, the show is you. I know you. I love it. It's like, I was crying watching it, and yet I had to watch it like porn. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like every time my wife came in, I had to shut it off, and she's like, what are you watching? And there's no way I can watch a show like that with my wife without having an uncomfortable conversation after. And that's a conversation I don't want to have. And so
maybe that's a conversation he needs to have, though.
Right. Well, that's what I would say. Yeah. And so I sit there afterwards and I go, oh, there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, I watched that show alone in my room. And I go, well, why don't you watch it with your husband or wife or your parents or your kids? And they're like, no, thanks. So there's people, you know, when I had Erica Garza on talking about her addiction to masturbation and porn, I had another close friend say, you know, I have monitoring software on my kid's phone, so I know how much my 15-year-old watches porn. It's like a lot. And yet I have no entry point on how to have that conversation with him. So I said, hey, you want to watch Uncle Dave on this TV show? And it was uncomfortable as hell. You're talking about porn. The woman's talking about porn. And I'm sitting there with my son, and I know he watches all the stuff. He doesn't know that I watch it. And there's all this shame coming up. And yet, because you put that out into the world, we were able to have a talk about that afterwards. And I was like, that's awesome.
That's what it's about, man. And even if that talk doesn't happen, it's like going to an AA meeting before you're ready to get sober. Like you don't walk out of there and get struck sober.
Right.
But a seed is planted, and it's kind of like once you've been exposed to that, like you can't quite shake it, right? It's like kind of ruminating around in your consciousness.
So I want to plant as many seeds as I can. And when someone goes, hey, have you tried this new therapeutic, EMDR, or, whatever, like psychodrama, I go, I'm in. Enough said, I'm in. And they go, well, it's really expensive, and it's, they don't let everyone in. I go, so I've been to all these places, and the ceiling that's always hit is that it's a business, right? It's like, whenever, as they say in the treatment, like you have a breakthrough, right? It's like, well, how do you feel right now, Dave? Well, I'm gonna fucking break all these cameras right now. Well, you can't do that. All right, so I guess I thought this was a safe place. I thought I could do whatever,
Yeah.
So I found that I was having these amazing breakthroughs, and I was watching people who I thought would never have breakthroughs, like people that remind me of my dad and people that remind me of like my younger self having these amazing breakthroughs, and yet you're still in an office building, right? You're still sitting in chairs in an office, and I'm like, let's go outside and they're like, Dave, this, there's a dentist office out, like you can't do that, and I go, oh, you can, but I can. I have creative license. I have artistic license. I could. So, I tell everyone, like, I'm not a guru. I'm not a therapist, even though I've probably been in rooms with group therapy, one-on-one therapy. I've seen, I've been at rehab centers that are meant to be like 30 days, 90 days, and I've been there for 2 years, so I'll have been there when you're there, and then 6 months later, I'll be like, wait, are you married to? And so I'll hear your wife's side of the story, and then I'll hear your kid's side of the story. So I have a lot of this information in my head, and I go, oh, wow, like this is a lot. And I feel like, all the things that I do of helping people, donating money and my time, it's like, it never gets, it's like, oh, you give a I'm like, oh, I give a homeless guy some money and some clothes and some food. It's like, he's not making light of what I did. I helped him for that day, for that moment, but did that get to the root of it? Did that get the brokenness? And I go, how can I, it's like, as someone who has privilege, who has wealth, like what is my best way to serve myself and humanity and help one another? Because you get to, like when we had Trump as president, like, man, fuck this guy, he's horrible. And it's like, just as well, there's a broken child in there. There's a hurt child in there. And is there any place in our culture for a guy, if he woke up the next day and was like, man, I've messed up, I want to change? It's like, no, it's just kill that guy, like down with him. And so it's so polarizing. And even with myself, you get into any treatment, you go to Narcotics Anonymous, and it's like, there's a hierarchy, right? It's like, oh, well, we're into opioids, and all you do is smoke weed, and, oh, I had more trauma than you, and this and that. And I sit there and I go, if there's no room in our culture for redemption and change, so I as someone is like me, who is so judgmental, who is a hater, I always try to lead with love. And so I've been asked to do such hard things in my recovery, There's people that are in recovery, I meet murderers and rapists and people that are in prison still and have done horrendous things, who've ripped people off and who should be in prison. And so I'll meet them and I'll be asked to sponsor them. I'll be asked to work with them. And I go, absolutely not. Like, I think that person should burn in hell and be in prison. And they go, and can you also help them? Can you want them to burn in prison and hell and also help them? And I go, fuck, I got to think about that. Because for you, like, if someone's out there and they've been a horrible person and they should be in prison, and yet they're not in prison and they're still out and they want to change, is shaming them and yelling at them. So I had these experiences where I would meet people and I go, and I would be able to tell them, I'd be like, I feel uncomfortable sitting next to you right now. I know you got out of prison early. I believe you should still be in prison and should be there till you die. And yet, because you're not in prison and I'm not judge, jury, executioner, I'm willing to work with you if you are serious about changing, because it doesn't help for someone who's like that to live in, because he's just going to be in society worse. Mm-hmm. And so, as they say, nothing changes if nothing changes. I was ready to sail off in the sunset. Done with podcasting. I don't like the anxiety that comes with speaking behind a microphone. I don't need to be on TV. All those real things of why I, before they took those opportunities away, why I did decide, what I was deciding whether or not to do TV, what I did see in Bourdain, what I did see what fame and workaholism did to him, I was like, I'll just do the one-on-one thing in private, no cameras. I don't need to broadcast this. I'll just help people the way I help people. And, but there's the ego and the workaholism is like, but I need to help everyone. Mm-hmm. I got to help the whole world. Like, I need to, I got to change everything. And I sat in it, and I already knew that there would be no network that would show that show. So I went ahead and filmed it, made it myself. And then FX stepped in. And their whole logo is fearless, and they said...
And they didn't get involved editorially with trying to change anything?
There was a little bit. It was a conversation. I took the Louis deal, Louis C.K., created, edited, did everything for less money. So I was like, I'll take that deal. Yeah. I don't need to get paid. I never did this for the money. So I took less money for more creative control. And, they were concerned, no one else would sit down with me. Here's the thing that's about the shame and anonymity is someone at all those companies knows who I am. They're like, dude, I love you on Vice. I love Thumbs Up.
Right.
I love...
But we just can't do it.
And they go, but we're not going to do it. This show comes out, the new show, and I have some of the biggest celebrities on the planet reach out to me and they go, dude, I don't even know who you are, but someone turned your show on. I watched all 4 episodes and I was like, cool, can you be the next guest? Can you tweet about it? And they're like, no. This is just me privately telling you this. And I go, oh, okay. So that's how deep those things run. And, I'm forever grateful to everyone at FX because they're so cool to work with, and they put out all these challenging TV shows and stuff with like the anti-hero. And they said, listen, because the show was already done. They're like, this is like this. The world needs to see this. This is amazing. We're just worried that like you might get canceled, or you have such a crazy history of insane things you've done and said. And I was like, oh, is that what you're worried about? That's easy let me make the decision for you. Hard pass on David Choe. And they go. I'm like, didn't you like learn your lesson with like Louis and all this other stuff?
Yeah.
And they go,
but also you have a history of doing that reverse jujitsu maneuver where, you take it off the table and they want it more.
I don't know if I was doing, thank you for saying that.
That might not have been your motivation, but that's the psychological impact of
I just wanted to know that everyone had, so I could be clear. I'm like, everyone has now rejected me. So now I can just become a YouTuber.
Right.
Like I was like, once everyone has said no.
It would have been huge on YouTube if you had done that.
And ultimately that's I don't know.
And maybe more people would have seen it.
But it always comes down to this, and which is also the hesitancy to come here today is, when you do anything like that, outreach, recovery work, something where you're putting out a positive message, showing change, you will help people, but then comes with that an expectation, and when you spoke earlier about, so the show's doing good, and it was one of my biggest fears talking to Neil Strauss and other like really smart, brilliant people in recovery is going to any of these behavioral places and learning about addiction and behavior. You're going to learn all these tools. And in the same way, like learning the force, you can use it for the light or the dark side. So I've met people who are like brilliant in recovery, and yet their lives are falling apart. And they go into this martyr thing. And like I don't know Tony Robbins, but every time I see him speak, I'm like, holy shit, this guy is like brilliant. And he's so selfless and helping all these people. And he seems like a douche. It's like two things. I'm like, would I ever want to be that guy? It's so weird. Like he's helping so many people through, and that's priceless and that's invaluable. And yet,
yeah, but your self-awareness around that piece is the differentiator. Like you have a conscious awareness that that a fear like of suddenly, kind of moving in that kind of weird guru direction. And I don't see that as a threat. It just doesn't feel like any part of your sensibility whatsoever. And, what you had said earlier was this piece about like thinking about how you can be of service. And like, yes, you can be of service in a one-on-one basis with, that hard case dude or whatever it is. But ultimately, like when I look at you and I think about service more broadly, like, what is it about you? Like, what can you do that no one else can do? There's other people with tons of money. There's other people that have more sobriety than you and have been to more rehabs and are more steeped in, the literature of psychology. The one thing that you have that no one else has is this very unique artistic ability to express yourself in a very particular way. And for you to channel that in the direction, like in this vein of like gratitude and service and kind of raising the bar on the kind of conversations that we can have so we can help each other and heal each other. Like, that's a gift, man. And that's why I think the show, is a reflection of your very particular sensibility. But to me, it's coming from that place. And personally, like selfishly, like I want to see you do more of that because that's something nobody else can do.
Do you want to see me do more of that, or would you like to participate in that?
No, what I'm saying is I want you to embrace that aspect of who you are rather than resist it.
I guess
and to do it like with everything that you've learned about where your ego sits and what your relationship to it is, so that you don't, succumb to some of the things that Tony did or fall prey to workaholism and the like. Because
but that's
you've
the
got
thing
that
is also recognizing.
But
that's also the thing is recognizing I'm not beyond that.
Right.
Just because I'm healthy now doesn't mean I could fall back into that.
But it's an opportunity for you to reframe your relationship with what you do and do it in a healthy way, rather than just create a boundary and say, I'm not going to do it because it's too treacherous or dangerous. Like, is that a possibility for you?
That's, I feel like, as they say, you peel back the layers of the onion. I feel like today I'm not in crisis of all the things that used to plague me. And the like kind of final boss is the workaholism. There is a side of me that loves to numb out and of course in the spirit of helping people, right?
Yeah.
To spend less time with my family and my friends and everything. And I have an amazing, what I, if you talked to me 7 years ago, would consider a very boring life, but it's a purposeful, meaningful life. It's there's times where things are hectic, but it's a pretty like mellow life, and that there's something deep within me that's like, why are you going to sleep right now? There's so much more energy. You can pull an all-nighter right now. Well, now that you won't be present for your family the next day then, but you can work on so many projects right now. You have that capability. Like, that's my Iron Man, right? I can not sleep, no coffee, no drugs, and work on 30 projects and start an art show and an immersive experience and develop other, I can do that. And, just in the same way, I like most of those interviews in my show were from 2 years ago. That's how long it took to get that show onto TV. it took more work to get that on the TV than to actually make the show. And what happens when you put the show out? People go, when's the next season?
Right.
I'm like, I worked on that with Paco and the guys from the Philippines. I mean, we like I know it's not the way you do normal TV, but we did something on every frame of that. Like, there's so much stuff that we put in there subliminally and hidden messages and stuff that there was a lot of thought put into it, and people to go, someone's like, I'm like, how about sit with the thing that we made, and like, is one season enough? Does there have to be a season 2? And these types of things. So I'm trying, like, I'm impulsive, you know, I like to just make decisions without thinking about it, and to, you know, once again, that whole thing with like waiting in line, like I don't like waiting, I don't like sitting in silence, I have to just run, I have to just get to the next thing. So to sit here and be like you said, all this reframing and remeasuring these things, because I did a show in an office building about 3-4 years ago where I had to fight against my ego and tell people you can't bring your phone in, you know? And I was like, well, then how are people going to see it online? And it was like, well, maybe just the people that come see it, that's enough, you know? And so the other thing is, can you really experience something truly when there's thousands of people coming through there? So I limited it to groups of 7, and you went in through the whole show with like a guide, and I implemented like all these things that I learned, and I was part of the show too, and it was the first phase of the Choe Show, and I had no idea how much that was going to take out of me, like physically and spirit, like emotionally, like, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, we had 100 people a day coming in through the show when we could have had thousands. And I had a staff of like hundreds of people. Like, this is just financially not viable in a treatment center, right? Like, if you went to a treatment center and you have like a few therapists and you have your group, like I had a team of like hundreds of people catering to just you, and some of these people would just be on the floor crying all night. So I had to find therapists to treat the staff after. And
meaning somebody comes in for this experience and they're exposed to some form of
you would fill out
some version of what you experienced in treatment, right? Where
I went through and I went for years, and I go, people aren't going to take years off to do this, so I'm going to try to fit it into a 4-hour experience.
Right.
And it was I mean, it floored me. It took so much out of me, and yet you know, the show cost me a tremendous amount of money, and I could have monetized it. I could have charged people, and people would have gladly paid. And after the show, there's a guy who lent me use of the building for free, and he's a billionaire. And he, you know, when I told him originally what I was going to use the show for, he's like, Dave, I like that you're giving back, and I'm going to give you a great price. And I was like, why don't you just give it to me for free? He's like, that's not how business works. You don't just, I go, well, you're rich and I'm rich, and why don't you just, like, I just told you I'm doing this to help people. And he's like, I like how blunt you are. Okay. So he let me use that building for free. And at the end of it, his entire family had gone through. And he's like, when you were explaining it to me, I didn't get it. But now that we've gone through and I've seen it bring my family closer together, let's take this show on the road. I got buildings. You know, he's a real estate guy. I got buildings in every city in the world. And and so my workaholism goes, this is going to be a hit show. Like, and I had to sit there, and it took you know, it's almost embarrassing to say it. It took like 7 people in my life to like sit me down and be like, look at how messed up you are right now. You just put everything into helping and entertaining and doing all this stuff for these people. And you have to respect what a psychic toll that took on you. And so we get it that you can like disassociate and just take this show on the road for the next couple of years, but in you know, with all the things you learn, can you be kind to yourself? Because I don't even know what that means. Because my whole life I've treated myself the same way. Like, if I think about the most verbally and physically abusive girlfriends I've had, that's how I treat myself. I talk down to myself. I say I'm no good. And so I don't want to sit in that. So I go, so me taking a vacation after this would be kind to myself. And they're like, yeah. Like you just did a lot of heavy lifting. But in my mind, I go, but it was only 2,000 people. It should have been, 200,000 people. And it's always that. It's like, I want to help everyone. And as long as I'm helping people, I never have to help myself. I can focus on helping everyone but myself.
Right. It just becomes a way to avoid or deflect.
Right.
That piece that's the hardest, which is learning to love yourself.
Yeah. And so I'm here today and my life's quite simple. And it's all these, this is the way recovery was explained to me. The concept of getting better is very simple. It's not complicated, right? Conscious contact with your higher power, service work, blocking your phone, like there's action, exercising, eating healthy. These are all none of these are hard concepts to understand, but it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's simple, but it's very hard. It's going to take me an incredible amount of willpower after this interview to drive home without stopping at Burger King. That's just the truth.
You want to give you a ride? Sure you don't.
Yeah, get me to the next exit, and then
I'll escort you out of here.
Yeah,
you can do it.
Thank you. You just saying that you can do it
you can do it.
That's a nice positive.
It's
thing.
Definitely within your power. Yeah, man.
I'll let you know if mission accomplished or not. We'll see.
We should round this out, but I don't want to let you go without maybe a few words for the one who still suffers, the one being the many, because I think there's a lot of people who, struggle in silence with some form of compulsive behavior or addiction to substance or process in some way. I mean, I just feel like this is the, problem of our age. It's just metastasizing like crazy. So whether it's gambling or food or phones or sex or shopping or drugs and alcohol, whatever it is, I feel like almost all of us struggles in one way or the other along this very broad spectrum. And finding a way out is really hard for most people.
So for the one who's still suffering right now, I just want to tell you, once again, I don't want to make it about race, but I've been to, you guys have heard me now, I've been to all these treatment facilities. I've seen in 7 years of treatment 2 other Asian people. It's not part of our culture. And the last one almost threw me out because it was my voice speaking to me in the form of another kid. I was at a meeting and a kid came in and he was Korean and he saw me and I could tell right away he recognized me. And at the end of the meeting, he's like, Dave Choe, you're rich, you're famous. What are you doing here? Like I wasn't, and as he was saying that in my head, I was like, you're right. What am I doing here? I'm better than this. And that almost took me out. I was like, I don't need to be here. I am better than these people. So if you're listening now and no judging, I don't care what video games, porn, the internet, YouTube, binge watching TV, food, whatever your thing is, no judging. The same brain that got you into this mess is not the one that's going to get you out. You need a hand, and all those tools, all these electronics, all these things that are used for evil and to numb you and distract you, you can use those same tools to, I've been to these places that cost money, but there's so much free services. There's literally a 12-step program for every addiction. And if you think you are any of these things, am I a workaholic? Just type in characteristics of a workaholic and you'll see if you are very quickly. You probably are, because we live in a nation. Everyone goes, hey, America's a nation of immigrants, right? But all that means is we're a nation of workaholics, because everyone came here for something better, and that means work your ass off. So even if you're not a workaholic, your family's workaholic. And all these things, it's not going to be you on your phone alone, watching porn alone, playing video games alone. It's through connection. And so reach out, ask for help, tell someone, as when you ask anyone in society, hey man, how are you doing? Most people will give you the answer, fine, good, okay, all of which aren't emotions. That's our automatic response. I'm okay. I mean, you could have the worst thing happening in your life today and be like, I'm fine, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. So it's okay. You're not okay. And that doesn't mean like you're not going to be okay forever. You just ask for help. There's support. And as someone, my life today, I can't get through it without this. I'm part of a men's group. I go to 12-step meetings regularly on Zoom, which is the easiest it's ever been. There's kind of a disconnect with the Zoom, but still better than nothing. I have a therapist that I see, and it's like there's a part of my addict brain that's like, you need to go talk to someone once a week for an hour about, and I go, do you know how much time I spent in casinos and at strip clubs and like all these places? Like I can't spend 1 hour a week on myself. So there's help out there. It's not hopeless. And I wish for all my friends that killed themselves and for the times in my life where I contemplated suicide and, I mean, we live in a society where it's normalized, where it's more okay to kill yourself than to ask for help. That's where we're at now. Someone would rather murder themselves than to go, hey man, I'm really having a tough time stopping watching television or whatever your problem is. There's no judging, and we need it. We're not equipped to deal with what's happening in the world. So the way we get through it is through connection and all these social media, all these things were invented to connect, and we're more disconnected than we've ever been. So, and I guess because I'm with you right now, are you suffering today from anything?
A little bit, I'm overtired. I'm overcommitted. I have been working too hard. I
won't challenge you to the race then today. The sprint, but I'll challenge you. I can like predict what I think will happen, but you said not a year, and you have your podcast is growing. The way I heard about it is you're worshipped at Sierra Tucson and all these like they listen to you religiously. So it's like weird. It's like, oh man, I'm getting bigger and better guests and.
It's intoxicating. So having a healthy relationship with that.
So I challenge you to take 6 months off.
Yeah.
And spend time.
That's a heavy challenge.
It's a heavy challenge, but I know you're up for it and you've done heavier things. I can guarantee you won't lose one fan, one listener. When you come back in 6 months, you may have more fans, more listeners. It doesn't mean these guys can't keep working. They could recut best ofs or whatever. More time focusing on yourself, your family, and it'll change your life.
Yeah, I'm not going to commit to that
I'm
right
not
here
asking,
and now.
It's a challenge.
But what I will commit to is I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to do that like honestly, and do an inventory around that because I think that's insightful. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I feel I feel calm. I feel less than a little bit, not a lot, just because I have you kind of said it's like you're like I kind of expected you to come in hot, and that's usually what I do. I don't meditate. I like get myself like kind of amped up. It's like I take podcasting and broadcasting very seriously. I hate when people just show up and dial it in. Like, I was up last night. I had like tons of material and stuff. I barely touched on any of it, but I kind of, my closest friends don't watch anything I do because they go, you're kind of gross because you go into this cartoon character of who you are, and we know the real you. So, but there's that always part of me that's always wanting to be like, I don't know who Rich has had on here, but when I come in here, I got to fucking blow him away, and this has got to be the best show he ever does. And
it's a performance. But I mean, my thinking going into it was he's going to come in like that, and my job's going to be to figure out how to get him to getting past that, you know?
Oh no,
But you came in past it already.
Well, because the way I learned about you is all people in recovery were like, you got to listen to this guy Rich roll, and like you won't. The way you go on to these other shows, you have to kind of school them on what addiction is and mental health, and he's already. You don't have to explain things to him, so you can just be yourself, and that's like. There's something liberating about that. Like I can just be.
Yeah.
But then, you know, there's always, you know, everyone I interviewed on my show was close. You know, the shortest ones would be 3 hours, but they would go plus 6 hours usually. And that's my workaholism of. It took me years for me to have breakthroughs, but I'm trying to get a breakthrough within 6 hours. So I'm like, why the fuck does this guy run so much? Why does he, like, like, if someone put a gun to my head and said, you need to run an ultra marathon or your entire family's going to be murdered, I'd be like, just murder my family right now. Like, that's the same equivalent of, I can't run a 5K. Like, it's like my legs start hurting. I go, okay, I'm going to stop because this hurts. So the best, like you said, all the best runners are in recovery and they're covered in tattoos. It's like, what are you running away from? The pain of something, the amazing ability to completely disassociate your mind from your body so that you can, I mean, like for me, when I see that, I go, that's definitely, you got to be in shape and physical, but it's more mental than physical.
It's mental, but just to flip the lens on that, the other side of that coin is that when you put yourself in that position of trying to do something really hard, you meet yourself in a very fundamental way. Like you can't run away from who you are. And your character gets revealed. Your weaknesses, your proclivities, like all of the looping in your mind, like you become very present with all of that. And I think it creates a greater awareness of kind of what you're dealing with so you can deconstruct it and move forward. Like that's the positive aspect of that, because I got into this at a very difficult time in my life where I was confused about who I was and what I wanted to be. I'd been sober. It's not like I got sober and immediately jumped into this. Like I'd been sober for 10 years before I got into it, but I was reaching another like plateau or kind of inflection point in my growth. And what I found through the process of like really submersing myself in that subculture is I learned a lot about who I am. And I learned, you know, what I needed to look at, where I was still, like all of these blind spots that I've been hiding from suddenly like percolate up to the surface. So those things that you're running away from, like come up, right?
It's so scary.
But it's an opportunity. And I'm not saying I've overcome all of those things, but I definitely have a greater awareness of them. And I've been able to kind of overcome some of them. So,
wow, it sounds scary. Yeah, so that you explaining that to me.
So it's like you telling me I need to take 6 months off is like me telling you you need to train for a 50-mile run or something like that.
50 miles? What's a marathon? 26 miles?
26.
Fuck, I've never in my life
you have 2 years to do it.
So if I run a marathon and you give me a 2-year time limit, in that time or after, you will take 6 months off?
And I'll take 6 months off? Ooh, that's a challenge.
I can't even imagine, like when anyone explains me like what they need to do a marathon, that to me sounds like mental illness. I go, that doesn't sound healthy.
Yeah, but that's you putting a cap on your own capabilities.
Do you know how much your life will like expand by like, the thing is, you think by taking a 6-month break, you'll lose stuff. Like, oh, I'll lose sponsors, I'll lose my flow, I'll lose like whatever momentum I had. But it's just the way my life has grown from taking a year off is like insane, you know? Like I have more opportunities, more, you know, because we live in a society where it's moving so quickly. You just kind of want to say yes to things and go, oh, okay, cool. Let's like, and then you get sort of, or at least I should use I statements. I get taken for a ride where I'm like, do it. Like right now, you know, where I'm about to have a conversation about season 2, and it's like, there's no part of my brain that's like, oh, of course they offer you season 2, you just take it, you know, without even considering like, well, is that even something that you should do, you know? So, I guess my feeling when you ask me how I'm feeling right now is I bring so much weight to every interview and podcast that I do that, you know, I left very, and this is part of my growth, disappointed in every single interview I did on my show. And it's just like, unless I had the level of breakthrough that I did for years.
Right. I mean, you're creating a ridiculous expectation for yourself.
And also, it's like, you know, I know Rain just did your show and he's been asking me to do his podcast, and I'm in a men's group with Rain. I don't think he would mind. And so we have a shared vocabulary where we talk in shorthand. Like, I don't have to explain things. And I go, he's like, yeah, come on and talk about art. I'm like, oh, so boring. Like, is that really what you want? He's like, yeah, where creativity comes from. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I'm like, how about, you know, because I know his father passed away. I go, how about I play your dad? And because I know and he's like, I don't know if I want to do that.
You want to pull a Choe Show on his podcast.
That's what I want to do everywhere I go.
Yeah.
And I have to have people constantly explain to me, like, that's really heavy. That's really deep. Like, I'm like, let's go there. I want to find that with other people. But it's like the impatience of like, I want it now. It's like, well, why don't you build up to that, you know? So I guess it's unrealistic expectations, and then sadness, and then shame, and then Burger King, and then shame with overeating, then driving home, and then, you know, I'm gonna Google like what it takes to run a marathon and be like, that I'm never gonna. And then I just sit there and I'm like, I'm a loser. Like, how, you know. We're
going to feed you a little bit. I'm going to escort you out of here. I'm going to give you a training plan. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to take 6 months off. And in the interim, man, I'm going to send you a bunch of grace.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Same to you, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate the honesty today, man, and sharing space with me. I really do.
Thank you, man.
Thanks. All right, buddy. Peace.
Peace.
Lads.